Calling to order the Municipality of Monroeville's Citizens Night and regular council meeting for May 11th, 2021. The time is approximately 7:12 p.m. If we'd all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. Roll call, please.
Mayor Grieslock?
Here.
Mrs. Gatos?
Here.
Mr. Poach?
Here.
Mr. Harvey?
Here.
Mr. Wolfram?
Here.
Mr. Osenko?
Here.
Mr. Williams?
Here.
Mr. Wilson? Mr. Little?
Here.
Mr. Ratcher?
Here.
Ms. Rock? Mr. Hugus?
Here.
Mr. Zwadniak?
Here.
Mr. Weldon?
Okay, we're going to move things around a little bit on the agenda. I'm going to start with a proclamation that we do every year this year for National Police Week and National Peace Officers Memorial Day. From the Municipality of Monroeville, a proclamation of the Honorable Nicholas J. Grieslock, Mayor of the Municipality of Monroeville, Pennsylvania, recognizing National Police Week and National Peace Officers Memorial Day. Whereas the Congress of the United States of America has designated the week of May 9th through the 15th, 2021, to be dedicated as National Police Week, and May 15th of each year to be National Peace Officers Memorial Day. And whereas the law enforcement officers are guardians of life and property, defenders of the individual right to be free men, warriors in the war against crime, and dedicated to the preservation of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And whereas it is known that every 57 hours, an American police officer will be killed in the line of duty somewhere in the United States, and 187 officers will be seriously assaulted in the performance of their duties, our community joins with other cities and towns to honor all peace officers everywhere. Now, therefore, I, Nicholas J. Grieslock, Mayor of the Municipality of Monroeville, Pennsylvania, proclaim the week of May 9th to May 15th, 2021, to be Police Week, and call upon all citizens in this community to especially honor and show our sincere appreciation for the police officers of this community by deed, remark, and attitude. I call upon all of our citizens to make every effort to express their thanks to our men and women who make it possible for us to leave our homes and family in safety each day and to return to our homes knowing we are protected by men and women willing to sacrifice their lives, if necessary, to guard our loved ones, property, and government against all who would violate the law. And I'm signing this into the record, May 11th, 2021. And certainly with the climate in this country, this is a very important proclamation. I mean, it's something I feel very strongly about. I know that my council feels very strongly about this and what our police department does and what we do out in Monroeville and how proud we are of our police department from all the way at the top with the chief and then all the way down to our newest hire. They're very well trained and they treat everyone with dignity and respect, and we're very proud to have the police force that we have. So I wanted to read that into the record for that proclamation for this week. So we are going to move over to our Citizens Night. We have a couple things going on here. So we have Citizens Night and our regular council meeting. Citizens Night is a time whenever you can discuss any municipal matter whatsoever. During our regular council meeting, we just discuss agenda items only. I have a feeling that tonight those are one and the same for most people here. So we're going to have one comment period. So it can be for any municipal item, but it's also going to be for the agenda items that are on the agenda for this evening. Okay, just so everyone's clear. I'll make sure everyone has plenty of opportunity to speak if they want to speak. This is not a public hearing like it was the last time we were here. This is actually this is what's being presented, and the developer and the applicant will be presenting. That'll be presented for council's consideration. but we certainly will start with public comment for any municipal item and also for the agenda. Understood? We're also going to ask for a 5-minute time limit. 5 minutes, I feel, and also council does as well. That's plenty of time to get your point across for any issue that you're bringing to council. I'll give you a 4-minute reminder that you have 1 more minute left, just so we can kind of keep things on track. Kindly too, sometimes whenever we're discussing things, we have a large crowd like this for certain issues. There are definitely people that you have the same argument or maybe the same stance that you want to make. We won't try not to repeat ourselves too much, but you just being here and even just coming up to the podium and even just saying that, you agree with this person or agree with that, and that you are in favor of something or not in favor of something, that would be helpful as well. Because we just want to make sure that we have, everyone gets their point across, everyone has ample time, and we get through this meeting in a professional manner, and everyone has their chance. Very good. So we're going to start with, if there's anyone that's signed in this evening. There is a sign-in sheet, correct?
Do you want it, Mayor, do you want me?
Yeah. Mr. Serafini, since did you want to speak this evening?
Yes.
Are you signed in?
Signed in first.
And if you could do that, and then if you don't mind, could you hand me the sign-in sheet, please?
I'd be more than happy to.
Thank you, sir.
Just the top one, just the top one. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir, if you could just state your name for the record and that you are a Monroeville resident.
Yes, sir. My name is Robert Serafini. I have been a Monroeville resident for the last 35 years. I come up here to talk about what I talked about last month, the traffic jam at Starbucks, which is going to be on Northern Pike. I just have a couple things. I know these people behind me have some important things they want to talk about. Can I ask, did the traffic survey come in for that? Is that why it's not on the agenda?
So yeah, the PennDOT approval is what you're asking about?
Yeah.
That is not, I don't believe that has come in yet. We have not heard back.
Is that why it's not on the agenda tonight, about the Starbucks?
Well, from last month's meeting, the plan was approved with the condition that it passed PennDOT's.
That's what I'm asking, yes, sir.
That has not happened. But it's approved, but
Can
contingent.
that be changed by you people once you get that survey?
Well, the approval would not happen without PennDOT's approval. So to answer your question, if the PennDOT didn't allow it, then the decision would be.
Well, I'm hoping they give you a bad one, because it's gonna be a nightmare. The gentleman who spoke before me last month, he did say something interesting, that Monroeville needed new business, which I concur with that. We do need new business. So I'm all for that. But when it comes to having Starbucks in there, which is going to be a nightmare because of the traffic jam, you said 28 people could be getting coffee at one time at 4 minutes a pop. That's a nightmare coming out of that particular area, because it's congested as it is. Plus the fact that when McGinnis was here, it was a heavily trafficked area as it was. Now, if you're going to be a Starbucks in there, and there's going to be another store in there, hopefully, and I'm hoping it's as good as McGinnis was, it's going to be a double nightmare. And I don't know if that traffic survey is going to take that into consideration or not. There's going to be 2 businesses in there, not just one. Are they taking that into consideration, or just the new Starbucks?
Is this not out of our hands at this point and sitting with PennDOT?
Yeah, well, at this point, yeah, we're still
It's out
waiting
of
for
our hands.
PennDOT's
Well, I
decision.
know you're waiting for PennDOT, but I mean,
I don't know how they come up with their final decisions.
but are they taking into consideration not just Starbucks for the survey, or are they taking in 2 stores for the survey too, back there?
I don't know personally.
Mr. Serafini, I can't guarantee this, but of the ones I've read since I've been up here, they look at the potential. So they do look around and see what's around it, not just Starbucks. So they look at the Plaza, McDonald's, Old Haymaker Road, the tire shop, everything.
Because like I said, 5 of you people agreed to it last month, which was, I think, a catastrophe without hearing the whole thing. I really do. And like I
Mr.
said-
Serafini,
Yes, sir.
your best bet would find out where PennDOT is and contact them or write them a letter.
I don't have to, I know someone at PennDOT.
Talk to them.
Okay, my one other thing too, in relationship to this traffic thing, Doug Cole was probably aware of it, but there's that strip of road coming between Mr. Tire and King's, Old Haymaker Road. Now, it has left-hand turn, no left-hand turn, which I concur. But I've seen many people come there and go straight across into that parking lot where McGinnis's was. Now, I think that sign has to be changed too, to say right turn only.
It does say that.
Pardon me?
It does say that, I believe.
No, it
I
says
think it just says left. I think-
left turn only.
I think it
I
does
mean,
say left turn, but yeah.
no left turn,
That's
rather.
a good suggestion, that's something we could look into.
But I think that has to be taken care of into this traffic plan. Now, I don't know if that's been considered, but I still want to just say, I think you people, once you get the traffic survey, change your mind. I really do, because I think with the double dipping of that store, which I hope is like a McGinnis, and the Starbucks, which I think alone is bad. So that's all I have to say, and I hope you have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have Diane and Mike Lambert. Whether it's both of you come up, or one spokesperson for the family, thank you. But it is noted that you both are signed in, that you're here.
Yes,
So
sir.
thank you. So if you could just state your name for the record.
Diane Lambert. I've been a resident of Monroeville since 2004.
Welcome.
My husband Mike and I live at 118 Armour Drive at Ryan Homes, Maple Crest. We closed on our home November the 15th, 2020. Our property has been surveyed and the permanent pins have been placed. According to the map that I sent over to the council, our lot 105 touches and is adjacent to the airfield. We are within the 300 feet and should have been notified of the city of any rezoning issues. I made calls in January and I thought it was understood that I'd be notified of any future zoning issues. I did not receive a letter about this rezoning. New Ryan homes are not showing on the Clover plan. And there's probably 9 or 10 Ryan homes that are touching the airfield property. And here's the map. That's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, and there was, to speak, and I know I emailed back and forth with Mrs. Lambert, that there was an issue with the GIS out of the county with that notification, but we did get the information to you, so, but thank you for coming out. And we definitely have to make sure that that is taken care of in our system moving forward. Joseph Huber?
Yes, good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm here on item B on the motion list. I hope that's appropriate to talk about that at this point.
Sure. Yes.
And I represent the Catholic Cemeteries Association of the Catholic Diocese of Pittsburgh, and I'm here on asking council to approve of an extension of the final mausoleum in a 5-mausoleum development at Good Shepherd Catholic Cemeteries. The most recent building, this is a 5-building complex, and 4 of the buildings are already erected. The final building is proposed and was part of the original master plan that was submitted for approval. The site is already prepared. I have some pictures if you'd like to see them.
Yes, so you're the applicant of,
Here on behalf of the applicant, yes.
because we're not at that point in the meeting.
Okay, all right.
However, if you had something
Okay,
very
I wasn't
brief
sure.
to share,
Yeah.
you could finish that up now,
Well, I
or
can.
if you have
I
more of
can
a
wait.
presentation.
Yeah, I can wait.
Okay.
All right.
Why don't you wait till we get to that
Okay,
section then,
all right,
please?
very good.
Dennis Smith.
They would make it clear that this is for the residents and not any applicants. Maybe we didn't do that. I can't remember if we did that or not.
Yeah, we'll let everybody speak.
Oh, yeah.
But we're going to go with Dennis Smith. You are as well. All right, good. Richard Rogas.
Thank you. Is this the time when we're to object to
Yes.
the development of the Clover property?
Yes, sorry for
Okay.
not being clear.
That's
with
okay,
that.
I just wanted to make sure. My name's Richard Rogas, and I live on 306 Willow Hedge Drive in Monroeville. And first of all, I just wanted to thank each and every one of you sincerely for all the actions that you took last time, February 9th. A lot of things that you folks did. You postponed a meeting a whole month to allow us to speak. So that was amazing. You didn't limit us. You weren't watching the clock. You were listening to us, and you listened to all the facts. And I believe that when you went back and voted no for the rezoning, I believe that you voted for the safety, health, and welfare of the community. I really believe that. And I wish that government everywhere, state, and local, and federal government could operate in that way. I really do. So thank you so much. You had our backs. You had our backs when it came to safety and health. There's a new proposal that's on the floor. I certainly have no objection to the single-family home concept. All of the areas, Maple Crest and the Edgemead and the Willow Hedge, single-family homes are amazing. And I talked about that the last time, the great feeling that we have living in our single-family homes. The high-dense, high-rise apartment is in a totally different area. It's a big and it's a huge mistake. It will ruin the character of those communities. It's a big mistake, and I just feel so strongly against that. I'll reiterate a few of our objections from last time. There's a potential, serious potential for flooding. Numerous homes on Willow Hedge have been flooded. You've heard of those. On the bottom of Logan's Ferry as you head towards Plum, that area is flooded frequently. There's signs saying, watch out for the flooding. There's mine subsidence and the potential. I have mine subsidence insurance, but I certainly don't want cracks in my foundation. There's just the whole idea of the bigness and the closeness, the kind of invasion of privacy that represents. When I look out my second story house, I see the first floor of that apartment. So what it's going to appear to be optically, it's going to appear to be 4 stories or even 5. It's going to appear to be as close as me to each of you. Okay? It's just overwhelming. It's scary. It's a scary, scary thought. Finally, let me just focus on the most important things, the things I think you addressed last time was with safety and health. The health and well-being of the community, it's intangible. It's hard to put your finger on it. But when I bought my house, I was looking for certain things. I was looking for a quiet street. I was looking for people mowing their grass. I was looking for people to share the same life journey with me, people who are raising their kids, sending them to Gateway, sending them to church. That's what I was looking for, something quiet, something rural. This destroys that. This destroys 40 years of planning. So even though it's intangible, it's certainly important. Now concerning safety. Safety, I think you can quantify. You can put a statistic on safety. When it comes to safety, there's going to be 122 cars in that area. There are going to be 466 trips per day made by those cars. If you extend that out, there are going to be 170,000 trips back and forth on Logan's Ferry Road every year. Now, who are those trips going to affect? I'll tell you who those trips are going to affect. They're going to affect the school children who get on and off the buses on Logan's Ferry. And they're little kids. They just run around. When they get off the bus, they're running and horsing around. Those 170,000 trips are going to affect those children. When you vote please, please consider the safety of those school children on those buses. I know I'm getting later. There are pedestrians who walk that street. There are joggers, many joggers. There's a little path that goes to Evergreen. I go down there. There are pedestrians. There's a lady who walks home on that. When you vote, please, please consider the safety of the pedestrians. There are people who are employed. There are plumbers. There are Amazon truck drivers. There are mailmen. There are people who stop and perform services. Please, when you vote, vote for their safety. And finally, with that intersection at Logan's Ferry, that is the worst intersection. 2 weeks ago, I saw another accident. Believe me, folks, I am so sick, and I am so tired of policemen there and glass all over the place and shattered. Really, we should be going for 170,000 trips less, not 170,000 trips more per year. That road is awful, awful, awful. Please, when you vote again, vote for the safety, health, and well-being of our community as you did the last time. You will not regret it. Thank you so much.
Here, here.
Eddie Rogus, were you planning to speak as well?
I'm Pat Rogus, Richard's wife. We lived on Willow Hedge Drive for over 40 years. Similar scenarios, I don't want to rehash it, but one thing I did notice in reading and reviewing the traffic statistics of the 466 cars Richard mentioned, in their statistical analysis, they also put in their single-family homes, and looking at the single-family homes as opposed to the high-density building. The single-family homes would create only half as much traffic based on their study. So the high-density building would have over twice as much traffic per acre on Logan's Ferry Road as single-family homes would have. That's a significant amount, twice as much traffic per acre, that needs to be considered and addressed. Also, as Richard was saying, that is on the top of the hill. For many of you know, Logan's Ferry is a narrow road, difficult for people to pull over. This building would be way on top of the hill, looking down on us, like we're one floor below already. What will that do to impact having this building behind us to my property values? Will that help my property values to go up? I would say not. I think that will devalue my property, make it more difficult to sell my property when I'm interested in selling it. Also, we are concerned about flooding and what could be done, if anything, so I'm asking you to vote no for that as well. Third, the question I have, last but not least, is regarding the airport road and who really owns that airport road and what access there is to that airport road. Is Clover going to own that? And if not, what rights do we have based on the ordinances that are in there to have any rights to go against the adjacent property owner? So if Clover would not be the owner of that property and that would go to the group they want to submit off as R2 and potentially sell, or maybe sell that to someone else, we've lost our rights based on the ordinance to go and sue that owner if there is any damage due to flooding or mine subsidence, because they wouldn't be the adjacent property any longer. So I think those also need to be considered. Obviously, I'm against the rezoning to have it be rezoned for Clover. Thank you.
Matt Valentine.
Hello, folks. Matt Valentine, 300 Willow Hedge Drive. I lived here for about 20 years. I live right on the corner of Logan's Ferry and Willow Hedge. As we talked about 3 months ago, not a whole lot has changed with the new proposal. From what I can tell, I know they moved the entrance to the building down a little bit, which is better for most of us along the road. My objections are still the same. They're the view that my house is going to be right next to if you look at the renditions that they showed, rendition C shows a good example, and I sent an email to you folks. I don't know if you saw it or not, but my daughter, 17-year-old daughter, her bedroom faces that way, and it's going to be right. It's almost at the closest point to where the new building is going to be. So it's going to be a visual nightmare for us, and just a real problem in many ways. I'm not going to reiterate everything. My other objection is obviously traffic. I experienced the traffic probably as much as anybody or more than anybody because of being on the corner there, and it's just tremendous as it is now. Now, one question I did have was the traffic generation study that they did. I don't know, is that actually a traffic study? Did it take into consideration the traffic that is traveling on that road now, plus the Maple Crest development, plus the new complex, plus if there's additional single-family homes that are built back there? I mean, that's just, I think what I read was it's just going to be what's going to be generated from the new building itself. I don't know if anything else was taken into consideration, and I'd like to know that if it was. One thought I had, and it's not going to solve the traffic problem, but there are other areas of that property where they could slide that building to the southwest a little bit, and it wouldn't be anywhere near the homes like it is now in this current proposal. So I'm just asking them to, is that an option? If they did that, there could be a possibility of a road that would have another exit toward Garden City, which might lighten up the traffic on Logan's Ferry. I don't know if those things are, if that area is more developable or it is or not, if they were to do that. But I know it would alleviate a lot of the issues that we have in terms of them building that building where it's proposed today. So I just encourage you. I don't see a whole lot that's changed from when we were here 3 months ago, and I hope that you'll vote the same way you did back then. Thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor, may I?
Yes.
I think the gentleman just brought up a good point. Can Paul maybe answer
Yeah, I was
on
going
the
to
traffic stuff? I mean,
Well, I was hoping we would get that in the applicant's presentation. We'll do it all right then and there. But those questions will be answered absolutely, Mr.
well,
Bell.
I just thought it was a good question, and
It is a good question.
not like that.
Jerome Schaefer.
My name's Jerome Schaefer, been a resident of Monroeville for 44 years, and I'm here as well with the people for the Clover Commons Communities Development. And I don't want to, repeat everything, but, the issues that were raised before are the same issues now. The only change that we've seen as far as the Clover Communities was they changed the entrance to the new facility that they're gonna, and can understand what other types of changes that they made that will really impact the plan. Still, the concern is traffic, number one concern. Another concern, of course, is flooding. The other concern is the large footprint of the building being able to be seen from all the homes along the back end of Logan Ferry Road that looks at the airport section now. So that's really all I want to say. I don't want to keep repeating myself. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Patty Schaefer.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Thank you for that, that was February, I guess, that you voted no, and I so appreciate that. But I guess everything that all of my neighbors said, I agree with. I was wondering where they are putting the entrance now. I looked at it. It is right at a hill, it comes up at a hill. So that would just be awful, I think, for view-wise, for them to pull into the apartment center. I think that would be awful. And I also want to say, is it possible that they could just have does Clover Commons build single-family homes, that they could not have that big, tall apartment building? That would just be an eyesore for all of us. And then traffic, of course, flooding, those are the same issues as all my neighbors said. So thank you for giving me the time. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Patty. Mike Hudek.
Hello, I'm Mike Hudak. I've been a resident 505 Willow Hedge Court for over 30 years, and I can say in all sincerity that my wife and I, our family, have been very proud members of Willow Hedge. A lot of the folks here, it's such a great community within Monroeville, and you'll hear and see people that have stayed at Willow Hedge. And so I'm here to object to the rezoning and also to kind of remind folks that we're here to talk about an R4 designation. R4 designation in an area that's surrounded by R2. And not only is it surrounded by R2, but it's surrounded by successful R2 zoning. There's new development occurring today adjacent to this property. This is not an area that is not conducive to R2, to single-family development. They've been developing single-family in this area. I mean, Willow Hedge was built in the 70s. They're still building there. So it seems contrary to the community objectives, contrary to the area, the neighborhoods, the residents, to zone this as R4. And again, we're talking about R4, which fronts on Logan's Ferry Road, which has a side yard requirement of 10 feet. So the people that preceded me, there's a 10-foot side yard adjacent to their properties. This is what you're being asked to approve. On top of that, in addition to, you know, the concerns about multifamily, is the fact that this property is at the topographic high point on the north side of Monroeville. Okay? I think in the testimony of the Planning Commission, the floor elevation of this proposed building, again, that's for land development, but the topography is roughly 10 feet higher than Willow Hedge, the properties along Willow Hedge. This building will be 40 feet tall. That means this building is going to stand 50 feet above the ground at the topographic high point, surrounded by buildings that are built to a traditional height for R2 in single family. So to say that this is not going to be visible, that this is not going to be an eyesore, that this is somehow going to increase the value of the neighborhood, I don't see it, I don't understand. I respect the fact that you voted no, but here we are again. But, so hopefully you take all of that into consideration. Also the fact that in R4, the density requirements are greater than is proposed in the trip generation study. So, and again, we're not to land development here, we're simply looking at R4 and what it permits. So there's concerns about a trip generation for 121 or 122 units, but doesn't R4 allow for 10 acres, 250 units? Should that not be the point of assessment as far as your decision? So, thank you for hearing, and I'd appreciate if you would to definitely consider the voices of all the people who are here to speak and object to an R4 zoning. Thank you.
Rick McMurray?
My name is Rick McMurchie. I'm sorry.
Sorry, I mispronounced your name.
Oh, no,
I
everybody does.
misread
No worries. I've been a resident since 1995 here in Monroeville. My wife was born here, so she's been here longer than I have. I'd just like to reiterate what everyone else said. You know, there's the traffic, there's the placing of an R4 high-density housing unit in the middle of all this single-family homes. Personally, I like living in Monroeville, and I like where we live, but I also want other people to move to Monroeville. I want people with kids. I want people to come and stay. And apartment living is by nature kind of transitory. People aren't going to come here and live for 30 years in an apartment. Okay? I'm not against apartment living, but if you look at the zoning map, most of the apartments, almost all of them, are bordering on a business district, not right smack in the middle of a residential district. So that's all I want to say. Also, the Logan's Ferry, that intersection at Center Road, it's a mess right now. It's not going to get any better. So, that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Heidi Beam.
Good evening. My name is Heidi Beam, and I live on Willow Hedge. And
Could you lower
instead
your
of
mask? I can't.
oh, sorry.
Thanks.
If you're comfortable with that.
Instead of repeating my entire presentation from the last time I was here, I'll use the Cliff Notes version. You guys can watch the YouTube presentation if you want to see my full objections. Nothing has really changed since the February meeting. The issue of spot zoning is the biggest change being presented. Making the R4 zone smaller and rezoning only 10.5 acres definitely causes a spot zone. The airport is surrounded by R2 zoning, as you can see in the picture. The airport is the pink spot in the middle. Originally, they wanted to rezone the entire thing. Now they just want to rezone this section right here, making it a smaller spot zoning rezoned. To only have an area rezoned to R4 does not fit the essential character of the area, and the spot zone will only benefit the owner and be a detriment to others. All the other issues that we had presented previously are still on the table. The issue of traffic. There was never an actual traffic study done for the current number of cars on Logan's Ferry. The analysis that Clover Community did was their high-rise apartment building versus an office building. Well, there is no office building on the site, and there currently is no traffic to the site. So Maple Crest and the Clover high-rise will be adding a lot of additional cars to Logan's Ferry. The issue of access. Access to the site is also an issue. Per the Monroeville zoning ordinance, the safe access should not cause undue congestion or hazard to the local streets. The airport location is not close to any major streets, stores, or public areas. It is surrounded by residential neighborhoods. It is not on a busway, and residents must drive 1.5 miles to the nearest store or a major road. So access to the site will cause undue congestion or hazard to Logan's Ferry Road. The issue of towering heights. It's a pretty building, but it is on the highest point of the property and the surrounding land. It'll be seen from all around, and it is above even the highest houses that are surrounding it. A couple of trees is not going to hide it, even during leaf season. The issue of rezoning in the future. Rezoning the rest of the area to R2 now does not stop the next owner from rezoning to R4, since there will now be an adjacent zone of R4. So the financial struggles of Monroeville should not be the reason to degrade our future by questionable rezoning. We are all counting on you to vote against the rezoning of the airport property because it does not fit into the region now, nor will it fit in the future. Thank you for your time.
Matt Vizzini.
And then I have
Sure. Yep, we'll place that into the record. Yep.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Matt Vizzini. I've been resident, my wife and I have been a resident of Monroeville for over 30 years. We live on Willow Hedge Drive, and there's no way I could articulate any more eloquently than my friends and neighbors have done so far. So all I'd like to say is, as mayor and council, I have written emails back in the beginning of the year outlining my objection to this. And it's really about the R4. I don't think you'd get a fight if this was all R2. And I think that's probably the right suggestion back to the developer. Develop an R2, come up with a plan that meets that. Because it can't stay, the airport can't stay an L designation for forever. Okay, we all recognize that it's a good piece of property. It belongs in single-family units, not a high-rise. So that's all I have. No sense in relisting everything else, but thank you for your time.
It was me. Thank you. I'd Ladies and gentlemen, the sheet I have, there are no one else has signed in. If anyone else would like to speak about this matter, or any municipal matter for that sake, except for the other items we're going to talk about later, as far as the developers go, the applicants. Is there anyone that would like to speak or address council? And once you come up, if you just sign that, there might be a page up here. There's also
There
a
is.
page there if you could sign.
If you would, yes, it's, there you go. State your name, sir.
Michael Plascon. I live at 738 Greenleaf Drive.
Can you stand?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and-
and stand
And
at
if
the
you could just
microphone.
stay at that one,
Yes,
that'd be
sir.
great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Michael Plascon. I
Michael.
live at 738 Greenleaf Drive. I've been a resident of Monroeville for over 20 years. And I'm opposed to this project. It's not zoned the way it's supposed to be zoned. This is a single-family development, is what it should be. There's single-family developments all around it, and a high-rise is not the purpose, I think, that would serve this community. And I'm just standing against it. Thank you very much, sir.
Floor is still open. If anyone would like to speak? If you could just sign in on that sheet, and whenever you're ready, you can state your name for the record.
Hello, my name's Heather Lewis. I'm here again. I just want to reiterate what my friends, what my neighbors have said about the R4 zoning. For all the reasons you guys denied it last, or in February, I ask that you look over that again. Your mom lives in the area. There was an ex-postman that lives in the area that knows the dangers of Logan's Ferry Road. Already on our way here, somebody was walking their dog toward Evergreen Park and jumped out of the way because there's 2 cars coming there and it just can't handle that load. In addition to that, I have to say, on Wednesday, last week, coming home from work at 5:35, I stop at Get-Go, not to get anything. I stop in traffic to try to get to my house. It took me 15 minutes, over 15 minutes, to get home already without that extra additional traffic down to the funeral home. It's a bad intersection. To the Y, there's a sign that says use turn signals because not everybody does. Before you get to that intersection at Center Road and Logan's Ferry, it's dangerous. On my way up Logan's Ferry, there was a FedEx car or a FedEx delivery truck delivering a package to somebody on Logan's Ferry, and traffic backed up all the way up the hill both ways because they could only get through 1 lane of traffic. 5:30 in the afternoon, 15 minutes to get home. I have to say that driving down Garden City Road the other day, I noticed the bottom of Evergreen development, the multifamily apartment buildings that were put up there. You can see those, the top of them, from Garden City Drive. It sits at a lower elevation than Garden City Drive, and the people on the right and left-hand side are staring at a large apartment building. It was shocking. I turned and I said, "What is that?" It was the apartments at the bottom of Evergreen, clearly visible from Garden City Drive. A multi-family, multi-floor apartment building at the highest level in Monroeville is just going to tower over everybody, and that's another reason. But if you'd look at the reasons why you denied the rezoning in February and vote the same way, we'd appreciate it. Thank you.
I'll still leave the floor open. If anyone would like to make any other comments. If it would be helpful, all of those that are here in attendance, I mean, certainly council does see everyone that's here in attendance, that are here because of the Clover Commons development. If you wouldn't mind just raising your hand, just so we can see who's here because of this rezoning issue. County 27? Folks, yeah? Thank you very much. Just wanted to have, just so everybody had an indication of it. So if there are no other comments, and just, we do have Mr. Huber and Mr. Smith, we do have you still. We're going to talk about this later as we get into the meeting, and also Mr. Jack, you'll be presenting shortly as well. So I know you signed in, but we will get to you three. Is there anyone else that would like to comment on any municipal item for Citizens Night and for the regular council meeting? Okay, we're going to close that portion of the meeting. We'll move over to our regular council meeting. And actually, if we could, in council, I would like to move over straight to this item in our new business of 21-1-Z Clover Communities Monroeville LLC. Mr. Jack, you are here. If you could come up and state your name for the record and give your presentation. And I will, as you're getting ready there, I'll read in what the applicant is presenting with. The applicant is requesting to rezone a 58-acre parcel of property, which is currently zoned L, special use, into two separate zoning districts. One 10.5-acre area is to be rezoned to R4, multifamily residential, and the remaining 47.5 acres is to be rezoned to R2, one-family residential. The property is located at 3926 Logan's Ferry Road, tax parcel 741-R-333. The Planning Commission recommends approval of this item. So, Mr. Jack, if you could state your name for the record.
Sure. Robert Jack with Clover Development. And first, thank you, Council and Mayor, for your time this evening as we discuss this. As mentioned, and obviously we were here in February, we had proposed to rezone the entire 58 acres to R4 multifamily. That request was denied. So we revised the application. What I've got up here is the original application and then the revised application.
Excuse me, sir. Could you enlarge to the regular presentation? Get down to the right corner, hit the regular presentation, so I can't see much of anything, as opposed to the display part.
Yeah.
Lower right-hand corner of the screen will do it, on the bottom toolbar, yeah.
That'll do it. Yeah, I think that's as big as it goes.
Oh.
Is that a little better?
No.
Oh, there you go.
Back up.
All right, so.
Mr. Poach does that for a living, so.
Thank you, appreciate that. Okay, so revised application. I guess let me go over the concerns that were brought up at the last meeting. What will happen to the balance of the site? Will additional apartments be built? There seemed to be a desire to have single-family housing on the balance of the site, and so that's why we kind of took the approach that we did. I should say, just starting out, the site is zoned L today. It's not zoned for single-family housing. So today, offices, research laboratories, hospitals, nursing homes could be built up to a maximum height of 45 feet, which is 10 feet taller than the R4 district that we're proposing for our use. So in some sense, we are downzoning a little bit from what could be built there today. And that's the reason for the traffic analysis, where we studied office versus single family versus multifamily. So just a little bit of background on that. So back to the application, we're proposing 10.5 acres for our senior age-restricted apartments, and then the balance of the site will be rezoned R2 for single family, thereby eliminating the ability to build office in the future, or a hospital, or anything else that could be built by right today. The next issue was the character of the neighborhood. We had our architect develop some renderings to kind of show what the building will look like, specifically from the neighbors in Willow Hedge, being sensitive to what they're going to see. I'll get to those in a minute. Traffic, I talked about a little bit. Just to answer the question, that was a trip generation study looking at what we would generate. We didn't take into account what's there today. We were just trying to compare what we would generate versus if an office development was built by right versus single-family built. So that's what those numbers represent. The next concern was the driveway location. We did shift that, or we're proposing to shift that as far away from Willow Hedge as we can. There is a 60-foot wide high-pressure gas easement on the north side of our property on the frontage, so we can only shift it so far. We're shifting it as far as we can shift it. And then the other item that came up was the existing airport road right-of-way, and we will agree to relinquish access rights to that right-of-way as we move forward into development. So the airport road will not be used. We'll be away from airport road. Here's a look at the rezoning site plan, the 10.4 acres, or 10.5 acres that we're wanting to rezone for our use is shown in pink, and then the balance would be the R2 shown in yellow. And again, that entire tract is zoned L today, which would allow the office and the research laboratory. Consistent with the other application, our previous application, we are still proposing senior independent living, 122 units. There would be parking and garages associated with that. It would meet the definition of housing for the elderly in the in Monroeville Code currently.
Let me ask you a question now.
Yeah.
You mentioned garages. You're going to have garages on the site?
Yes, leasable
Are they
garages.
paid for lease?
Yes.
Do you have enough free parking places as required by the municipality? Or are you counting the paid parking garage as parking spaces?
I don't recall what the code is, but we would have enough free outside of
Free,
the garages. Yeah.
and the garages would be in addition
Yeah.
to the free parking as required by the municipality?
Yes, correct. Correct. Looking at the site plan, what happened here? Looking at the site plan, the letters A, B, C kind of running along the bottom, those are the views that our architect prepared. I'll show you those in a minute. We did shift the driveway. We're about 80 feet away from the southern property line with that driveway location.
Could you show that on the image with your cursor?
Yeah, right.
Possible?
Yeah. Can you see where the cursor's at?
Yes.
So from the center line of that driveway to the rear property line of the first residence on Willow Hedge, that's 80 feet.
And what was it the prior application?
It was about 30 feet. And again, that's as far as we can shift it before we get into that high-pressure gas line, that People's gas line that runs through there.
Is that shown on here, the gas line?
It is. Do you have a copy of the plan?
Back here, refresh your orange, Ron.
How much pressure's in that gas line?
I don't know. It was described as high pressure. But
Usually around 1,200 pounds, I think.
okay.
Who cares?
It's a 60-foot wide easement, so it's a
How
high.
wide's the easement?
60 feet.
60 feet. You taking any extra precautions to protect those residents in the building from an explosion? There was one out in Murraysville some time ago and really caused chaos.
They don't have anything to do with the gas
Yeah,
line.
it's not there.
Yeah, we're staying off the gas line.
No,
We're
but
not.
you need to protect your building, I'm saying.
Yeah, we're not, the building, the parking, nothing will be on top of that gas line. We'll be away from that. Additionally, we'll preserve the existing vegetation that runs between our development and the residents in Willow Hedge Drive, and then augment that or plant additional vegetation, which we can get into more at the land development phase, but and once we get to land development, we can see, where our limits of grading are gonna be and what trees we have to take down, but there will be a significant buffer preserved in that area.
Can you show the buffer? Do you have a photo that you can show how clearly the buffer?
Yeah, so here's a rendering showing the existing buffer. Now, this was taken back in February, so this is no leaves, no vegetation. And then that's the building rendered in the background. That's the three-story building, and the picture's taken from Airport Road.
Mr. Jack, could you just click back so we can see where view A is on the map?
Yeah, view A is furthest to the west,
Okay,
with C being closest to Logan's Ferry
Understood,
Road.
thank you.
Let me ask you another question about that gas line. It looks like it ends to me. Does it end right there, or does it go across the other property?
It goes across the other
Oh,
property.
it goes clear across there then?
It does, yeah. Yeah, it continues. Here's further down Airport Road, getting closer to Logan's Ferry Road. Again, with the existing vegetation. I have some other views that have some proposed vegetation in there. And agreed, it is 10 feet above the neighbors' houses, residences. But we are about 230 feet back for the bulk of the building. The two closest wings are about 180 feet to the backs of the neighbors' houses. And then this would be the view as you get closer to Logan's Ferry Road. I think this is behind, in between the first and second house on Willow Hedge, as viewed from the Airport Road.
What type of vegetation were you going to put in?
So we would do canopy trees and evergreen trees.
And you have pictures showing some of that,
Yeah,
the proposed vegetation?
I do. Maybe if I can get this to come back up. Okay, so here is view A. Again, this is as far west. If you're familiar with that road, there's a gas pumping station or pump station. You can see on the left-hand side of the image, fenced in. This is with the proposed vegetation now. It's from the middle of the road and then closer to Logan's Ferry. So it really minimizes, I think what's going to be seen. Again, at this point, the closest location of that building to the first house is 175 feet from this wing that kind of juts out there. Here's a picture of the survey. Highlighted is the Airport Road. Apologize, it's not really showing up too well. There is a 10-foot right-of-way associated with the Airport Road. And again, we would release, any access rights to that. That could go back to the neighbors or that road does encroach on their property. So we would, we could get rid of that. And
Yeah, so my understanding of that is, so we have the properties on Willow Hedge, then their property lines end, then it's the airport property. So the 10-foot
spans.
easement is on the airport property, is that correct?
It's also on the back of some of the Willow Hedge properties as well.
Part of that 10 feet is
Yes.
on theirs? Okay.
Yes. And so we would release any rights to that access-wise. And so, yeah, their property, or they would gain that land back. It has the road on it today, but they would actually gain that area back. That makes sense. We have no desire to use that road, or no need to use that road. The trip generation study, we touched on this last time. I'll just go over. If it was developed in the L district today with office, our traffic engineer determined that 272,000 square feet of office could be built there that would generate 2,800 trips a day, with peak hours of 282 in the morning and 295 in the evening. If it was built as single-family homes, it could generate as much as 1,230 trips a day, 90 peak in the morning and 120 peak in the evening.
Hey, Mr. Jack, I'm sorry, whenever you say that, do you mean the entire 58 acres?
The entire 58 acres, yeah. There is about 20 acres developable only. The rest is in steep slopes, but if the whole thing was built as single-family, yeah. So if you took our 10 acres out, Our 10 acres as R4 with our proposed use would generate about 466 total trips, I think was mentioned earlier. AM peak hour of 24 and PM peak hour of 32. I will say that the nature of our residents, they can kind of plan their trips. If there are peak hour events, school buses, so forth, they'll work around that. They will not be on the roads going to the doctor at 8 a.m. when the school buses are on the road. They're a little more flexible with their routine, I guess.
And you said the apartments are age restricted?
They're age restricted.
So what is?
So the age restriction is 55 plus per, that's consistent with the Fair Housing Act.
Okay.
Our residents are generally 72 years old and older.
Getting back to that airport road, you say that some of it's encroached on the residents' properties?
Yeah, so
Would
there's
you
a,
survey them and pin them so the residents know exactly where their corners are?
sure,
So you'd take out on yourself?
sure, yeah, we could do that.
Mayor, I have a question about the traffic study.
Yes, Mr. Poach.
Because I'm not, we've listened to a lot of different things on traffic studies.
Yeah.
I'm not as, I'm sorry, Greg. I'm sorry I moved away. Is that good? We've heard a lot of different things on different traffic studies and programs. And in this particular case, I'm not sure, there was a question asked earlier considering the traffic flow in study, but it did not seem that the question was that, or the statement was that it didn't take into consideration the other ongoing traffic flow in Logan's Ferry.
That's correct.
So I'm not sure that we really are getting the entire impact of
So
your
what,
development, and then also in conjunction with what we discussed on, what else is on Logan's Ferry.
okay.
Yeah, I mean, that was what the question, I hope I'm
Yeah, so it
paraphrasing
was
that
a
correctly.
trip generation study, so we compared what could be generated from that site today with the current zoning, with the L zoning.
First an office building, so that's not, that's off the table then.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
not a
that could be
consideration.
developed if we would go away, somebody else could come in, do a hospital there,
Understood,
office complex, whatever.
understood.
And then we compared what would happen if it was built totally as single-family housing. And then we looked at what would happen if it was built as our senior, kind of a mix of senior with the single-family housing.
Yeah, because in other types of studies, and I'm not clear on this, so if we're not clear on it, we may have to, I may be asking for some more understanding.
Okay.
For that. But what I'm hearing is, from the folks here this evening, is that the impact with the rest of the flow in the neighborhood. You only did your part out to Logan's Ferry, so we're not sure how we understand what
Yes.
it would do to everything
We
else.
just looked at what that site could
Okay.
generate.
That's just
Right.
that part. That's the only part we know date on.
That's all, that's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
Thank you for now.
Okay.
I agree with you, Larry.
I'm not sure if I made myself clear then, Greg. What else?
Made it clear to me.
Okay, so
Yeah.
because we had that.
We compared what could be generated from that site today with current zoning versus what we're proposing. And as
No,
a,
I understand
okay,
what you're
okay.
saying,
And you weren't
but I
necessarily doing a
hope you
traffic
understand
study
what Eric's
of
saying.
Logan's Ferry in general,
That's correct. What it was is a trip generation
We
study
weren't asked to do
from your site.
from this site, from this property. Right, it wasn't a traffic analysis of Logan's Ferry.
planning.
Yeah, no, I don't,
Planning didn't ask them to do it.
that's correct.
Maybe we should.
Yeah, I don't know if that would be, I mean, we could look at the trips, and is that appropriate at the land development phase, or, when would that best be,
We'd have to ask, when is that appropriate?
Yeah,
studied?
You just
Mr.
made
Little,
a
Mr.
comment that I was wondering the same thing. When is it appropriate to ask for something like that? To use the impact of what you're proposing along with what is already being generated? Is that appropriate now, or was it to be done when it was in
Here's the dilemma that
planning?
everybody that asks for a rezoning faces this dilemma. Council has absolute discretion on whether to grant rezonings or not based upon the fact that it's a legislative act. So you can either agree with it and pass it or not pass it. At that phase, it's very rudimentary. We just want to institute a certain use. So what he's saying is in the trip generation study, that gives you an idea what the different kinds of uses, if you rezoned it, the contribution they would make to traffic. The more intense traffic study doesn't come up until you do the land development and site plan. However, if council thinks that's gonna be an issue, and they don't have that information, that could potentially impact the decision you make. So while he's not required to provide that, if you want to see that, you have the right to ask for it and make your decision based upon what you get, or he can say, no, you know what, I really don't have to provide that. And then you can make a decision based upon his answer there too.
Okay.
I think the point we're trying to make is what could be built there today
Right.
is significantly higher than what we're talking about.
Agreed.
Yeah, we
Agreed.
understand.
I
Several
understand
fold
that,
higher,
yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
right.
And so at this level, that's what we were
Gotcha.
trying to compare and contrast what's today and what we're proposing. Beyond that, I've got some photos, maybe if it goes back here. Existing photos of some of our communities, just to give a little more detailed look of what it might look like. Again, we have about 40 of these operating in the Northeast and Midwest. 4 in the Pittsburgh area, Bethel Park, North Fayette, Hempfield Township, and Robinson Township.
Can you address the water issue? I know that a lot of them brought up that this could possibly create more issues for their particular homes. And, you know, I know that I wouldn't want your water on my property, and I'm sure they don't want anybody's water on any of their properties. You haven't addressed that tonight. Can you?
Sure.
What do you plan on mitigating? How do you?
Yeah, so today everything's running off of that site uncontrolled.
That's correct.
You know, as we get to land development stage, we would engineer that and design ponds, infiltration berms, whatever, measures.
About the mine subsidence too, because there is an issue up there.
Absolutely. We'll do a geotech study on that. It's pretty common around the Pittsburgh area. Our Robinson site had mines under it, and Hempfield also had mines under it.
Yeah,
And
but
we ended up
issues there all the time.
grout
I won't say all the
filling,
time,
yeah.
but there's issues there. I'll retract that.
Yeah. And so in those 2 locations, we grout filled the mines underneath the development area. So,
So they would have to meet the MS4 requirements. is
Oh,
what-
no doubt.
Is
Yeah,
what
as
you're
every
saying,
devel-
with
as every
detention
development.
ponds that, right. And if
Sure,
anything came
yeah.
up with the mines, even if you had to fill them, like you said,
yeah,
that's
I mean,
something
we would-
you are all prepared that you would have to do.
we're assuming we're gonna have to do that, yeah.
Yeah, you're already assuming you're gonna
Yes.
have to?
Yes.
Okay.
So in reality, some of the current flooding conditions may or
Would
may not
be-
be
get better.
impacted.
Make it better
positively.
because it's uncontrolled water today where it's gonna be detained and released at a slower rate.
Typically by today's new development, by today's standards, what Monroeville requires of developers, it typically makes the water runoff
Reduced
better.
rate, yeah.
You reduce it because, you know, developers have to capture the water
Yes.
in detention ponds or
Yep.
tanks and really house it on site.
Right, and then release it slowly over
and
time.
release it slowly.
Yeah.
Got a question for you.
Okay.
Would you volunteer an impact fee to use towards that intersection, Logan Ferry Road and Center Road?
What,
An impact fee.
Yeah.
Manny, explain that to him, what an impact fee is.
Well, what an impact fee is you have, for instance, how many units, whether they're single-family detached, in this case, there would be units per unit. You would have a contribution if you had impact fee legislation passed, which several communities in the Pittsburgh area do, Cranberry, Pine, Marshall, those types of communities. You would contribute $1,000, $1,500 per unit. And usually, most of the time, it does go for traffic, but it also can go for park and recreation. And you can also have it in lieu of, we have had it here, we have had it in lieu of, with respect to park and recreation, a monetary contribution instead of park and recreation. But with respect to the legislation we have on that on the books, I'd have to defer to Mr. Wilden or Mr. Ratcher on that. Mr. Wilden, on what we have specifically on the books on that.
We don't have an impact fee now, right?
To my knowledge, we have never done an impact fee study, which does take a considerable amount of
No other
time.
place in Monroeville pays an impact fee.
Right, we do not have an impact fee. Now, we do, I know we have had some kind of park and recreation impact fee. We did over on, off of Haymaker, what's the name of the development over there? I can't remember, down towards,
Haymaker Point?
Haymaker Point, thank you. I thought we had an impact back in 2010, 2011. I thought for Park and Rec or something.
We did.
Yeah, I mean, I could be mistaken, I thought we did. That was about 10 years ago.
But Mr. Ratcher, do we have
I'm not aware that we do.
legislation in order?
Yeah, I don't think we've
We
had
certainly don't for traffic improvement.
You have to have a land use study done, you have to have an engineering company, under contract to do different studies on where are your bad spots, so to speak, with respect to intersections. And through all that calculation, you come up with a number on what it costs per unit in your community when a developer comes in and they have to make a contribution. It's much more prevalent in the southern states of Florida, North Carolina, Texas than it is in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I know Cranberry has it. I'm
Yeah,
familiar with
Cranberry
that.
has one, and Pine
At
has
this
one,
point,
and
it
Marshall.
would be purely voluntary.
It's more prevalent in the eastern part of the state, too.
Is it? Okay. Yeah, I'm not familiar with that there. I'd certainly be open to discuss it. I don't know, what kind of dollar amount we're talking here or what, but I'd be open to discuss it, sure.
Mr. Jack, you want to go on to the presentation?
Yeah, sure. All right, so there were some exterior shots, some events. We do bus trips and go to local events, casinos, so forth. We'll have an activities coordinator. We do have amenity spaces in the facility. We'll have a large community room and a reading room and library on the first floor. The second floor has a fitness center, an on-site beauty salon, where we'll contract with the local beautician. Just for our residents, we don't bring anybody in from the outside for into the beauty salon. But they'll set up a day or two a week, and again, just have appointments for our folks, our residents. There's also a kind of a coffee bar, game room on the second floor. Let's see if I have some pictures of that. Yeah, there's some photos of that. And then a family room on the third floor for small events, birthday parties, and so forth.
Are these single bedroom, double bedroom?
They're mostly 2-bedroom. We have a handful of 1-bedroom, but of the 122, it'll be like 5 1-bedroom, and the rest will be 2-bedroom. And then we have some with 1 bath and some with bath and a half.
That's 122,
122 total.
122 units.
Yeah.
On there with senior citizens.
Yep.
Generally, you mentioned generally over 70.
Over 72.
Over 72, 70.
Yep.
And roughly, what's the rent on one of these?
So 1-bedroom is 1,100, and then the 2-bedroom are 1,300, 1,400. Yeah. What else? Some additional common areas. I kind of skipped over the unit photos. These are typical shots inside the units. Kitchen area, full kitchen in every unit. Living space, washer dryer. Again, mostly 2-bedroom. And what this really does, it allows Monroeville residents to age in place. We draw 3 to 5 mile radius is where we draw from. So these folks are coming from the community. They want to remain in the community, go to the same church, same stores. And then this frees up housing stock for younger families to move into the area. They don't pay taxes then at this point. We're market rate, so we'll pay full property taxes. We're not subsidized in any way. Obviously, don't put any load on the school system. Children are not permitted to live here, so it is adults only.
So you couldn't have like a grandmother taking in 3 children?
Nope. That's a condition of the lease.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you were not building this.
Yep.
And it went to all single-family homes, approximately how many single-family homes could fit on
So the traffic study we did was indicated about 120 single-family homes on the whole, what's developable. A lot of this is not developable
Right,
because of
what's
the
developable.
steep slopes, yeah. And that would generate about 3 times the traffic of what,
But about 120 single-family homes?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Versus 122 residential units.
Yeah, and there still could be some single-family homes behind us, you know, on the balance of the site, but it would be less than the 120, because we would carve that chunk out for our use. That makes sense. And our traffic is about a third of what single-family generates, just from our 120 units.
Council, if I can, Mr. Mayor, may I? This is just my opinion. I'm not happy with the traffic study as it is. I'd like to propose that we table this, have him come back and do a complete one. I'd like to see it all added in, because hard to argue with the residents. I mean, this is gonna be, when you add everything together, what does it look like?
And in conjunction with that, Greg, I guess you're vocalizing what I'm thinking in my head. It's just there's just that one unanswered piece, because of folks on balance, you know, it appears, I've seen one of your facilities, in fact, in place to do that. From reputation, it's not, you know, something that's going to be an eyesore problem later on. They're well taken care of.
Yeah.
I've seen them in Hempfield and the one in Robinson.
Yeah, I am making that
I'll
motion.
second that motion.
Yeah, I'd second that motion too.
Well, Mr. Ratcher.
The motion can be made and acted on, but the applicant has to be willing to do the traffic study.
That's what we're asking.
He's not required to. He can say no.
That's
Now,
correct.
that may impact your opinion or whatever, but he does have the opportunity. He can't hold a gun to his head to do the more comprehensive traffic study. He
Yeah.
can say yea or nay.
Let me ask, what is, if we would get to the land development stage, what is the minimum threshold for a traffic study? How many trips, does anybody know?
Yeah, what are you looking for?
Maybe Paul,
100 trips.
100 trips, 100 peak hour trips is the threshold. We're at 32.
Yeah, so I guess what I'm gonna try to clarify what Mr. Osinko, what you're asking, and Mr. Poach, we were discussing earlier, so if I'm wrong, please let me know, but are you saying that, because, yes, I understand where you come from, Mr. Jack, as far as.
Right, right.
This is worst case scenario of the site as it currently is, what it could possibly be,
Right.
what it would generate. This is what Mr. Jack's proposing, and this is what it's gonna be. But I think what's been brought up here is, well, we still have development of single-family homes at the Maple Crest Golf Course that aren't fully built yet, and those aren't factored into the Logan's Ferry Road. I know that's not your problem.
Right.
That's what I'm trying to stress. part of
No,
it.
did we make them do a traffic study like this?
No.
But I guess what council's trying to base their decision on is
Yeah.
the total load of Logan's Ferry, although we understand that you are less than what
Yeah.
currently is zoned there, and yes, you are.
We're not gonna move the needle much with our development. Again, we're 32 peak hour trips, so,
Correct, and I think it's a good stance of the argument for you.
yeah.
It's
But
not fair to do that.
I don't know if council is that.
Can I get an answer to the question for sure?
You got a table.
Mr. Wilden, did we make Maple Crest do a traffic study for Logan's Ferry to put in the single-family residential homes? Because I don't remember this many people being against that development.
There was
Or
a traffic
ask-
study done for the Maple Crest development.
There was or wasn't?
Was.
There was.
And they were over 100 peak hour trips,
Yes.
I'm assuming, right?
Yes.
Because single family does generate more than what we generate.
Correct.
Okay, so there was one done, but they do generate more traffic than
They met
is
the threshold.
proposed. Okay.
Yes.
So we have that on file.
Yes, we do. And it showed that the intersection of Logan's Ferry and Center Road is a miserable intersection. It completely failed. So whatever traffic study they do, it's gonna.
Show the same thing.
Yeah.
Plus 30 cars, 32
Yeah.
cars.
It's not gonna show anything more.
It's gonna
No,
show
well,
that
that's
it's,
what I'm trying to figure out. What else are we gonna learn?
yeah.
You know, to
Well, the
have-
problem
have
is
to
both
do
of
that.
those developments are remote to that intersection
vary.
from a legal standpoint.
Correct. The traffic study goes out, and we have discretion to say, we want this intersection looked at, we want this intersection looked at, so we can pick and choose And the traffic engineer will also look at other intersections and contributing factors.
Does everybody know who Paul is? I don't know. I don't even know if the
Mr.
residents
Wheeldon.
know.
Yeah.
He
Well,
works for the
one thing-
municipality.
Right, but the one thing that, what we might be running into is, let's say, if there was a different development that was being proposed, whether it be at L, or if it was all single-family homes, or if it, really, the only thing that's not going to impact Logan's Ferry Road is if it stays as is and nothing is there.
Correct.
Now, I don't know, and I don't even know if they probably didn't track this, what the traffic was whenever it was an active airfield. Because we're going back decades.
Yeah, that was.
And then there was
Probably-
less development
Hey,
there
hey,
as
I
well.
used to go up there, don't go with that.
Mayor, there's also the consideration that, and sticking up for them or not sticking up for them, the fact of the matter is a total traffic study is gonna count all the Plant Hills and Plum traffic. And that's not gonna slow down just because they are there or not there, okay? And so the problem
That
is
is a big
that you're
cut
getting
through.
all that development from Penn Hills and Plum that uses Logan's Ferry Road that we're gonna count. And it's not, and whether they're there or not, it's not gonna go away.
Yeah.
The Penn Hills and Plum traffic.
The level of service today is, I don't know, was it an F or a D?
F.
F.
And, we've talked, the municipality has looked at putting a signal in that intersection, and with it being, PennDOT controlled and a county road.
That's the problem.
It's almost impossible to get that done.
I've
And then the
tried.
geometry of the intersection is just terrible.
I have official correspondence all the way back when I was first put on council. The county will not, they adamantly refuse to put a signal there.
Yeah, they want that center road traffic to keep
flow.
moving.
Just keep flowing. Yeah.
It's very difficult to do.
Where's that leave us?
So,
Okay.
any further discussion on that
There's a
matter,
motion on it.
council? Now, is there a motion are you making a motion to table, or?
I don't know it's gonna get any worse, Greg.
I'm sorry?
We're at an F already. And they're
Yeah,
talking
there's
about
nowhere
30
else to go.
Yeah, there's no else worse to go on it.
Now, even if R2 came in full, it's still gonna impact the traffic
would
exactly
be
I'll
worse.
more.
withdraw my motion to table.
The second.
He's withdrew it, yes.
No, the public comment period's over. Mr. Jack, is there anything else you want to add to your presentation?
The only other thing I'd want to say is, Monroeville is an aging community, but Western Pennsylvania, you could say that all over the place. And this is a niche that we see as a need for the community. There aren't a tremendous amount of R4 sites. I don't know if there's any currently that would accommodate the building. So I hope you take that into consideration. I hope you take into consideration it is zoned L today. Offices, a hospital could be built there, which would impact, and it could be built taller than what we're proposing. So just ask that you take that into consideration. If there's any other questions, I'll certainly answer.
My question goes back to impact fee. Would you volunteer maybe to put $50,000 in a fund towards an impact fee to improve Logan's Ferry Road or in an intersection?
I don't know if there's if we can legally do
No,
that.
I'm asking to volunteer that. We used to do that in the planning commission when we do an OptiCon. People would volunteer money at this time to pay for the OptiCon system. And it would be purely volunteer. We couldn't hold them to it unless he volunteers it.
Is there even a?
That's a challenge, that's a challenge.
No,
I'm sorry, I'm
I don't
against that
think,
idea.
I don't think when you have an applicant up asking for relief,
No,
you can say, will you volunteer to do something you don't have to do?
no.
Right.
Again, that's the proverbial gun to his head.
Yeah, I don't feel comfortable with that.
Council, any other questions for the developer?
I just have a comment, and this is for all the residents sitting here. We're kind of like in no man's land, if you will. If we deny this, what if they do bring a hospital in? We can't stop it, then it gets worse for you. No, maybe not, but if what I'm hearing, that if you put all R2s in, it still will create more traffic.
No, it won't. Read his traffic study. There's twice as much traffic
We're not,
from this development.
Let me,
please.
yeah, thank you, Mayor. I hear you loud and clear. I just, as I said, I feel like I'm in no man's land. Nobody wins in this.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of unknowns as far as what the site could possibly be. Changing the rezoning probably improves it from L. I understand the residents' concerns about the building itself. But, I do believe there is a need for senior housing in Monroeville. I think it does, long-term helps the community in general as far as getting seniors out of their homes, that they raise their families and moving them, keeping them in the community, that they've been here all their lives, and then getting families into their current homes. I think there's a need for that and value in that. And I do understand all single-family homes at the site, even though people think it's multifamily, multi-levels, that it's more impact than single-family homes, and that's not necessarily true. Especially whenever you're dealing with seniors that aren't going to work 9 to 5.
Take a lot less trips per day.
There are less trips, there's certain time they aren't coming out, whether they aren't coming out. But it's the landowners and the developers' right to ask to develop their land, and we understand that. And that's where we get into private property issues. Certainly, everyone's entitled to do things on their own private property as long as they conform to the rules and regulations that we have.
Mayor, in question, just to refresh my memory, I believe we had asked some other things in the last meeting, and to my recollection here, it appears that they've made those adjustments to the things that we asked or previously discussed in terms of
We asked about
offsets
moving
and
the
things.
driveway, the buffer zone,
Doing single family on the
doing
balance.
single family so that there could not be further big buildings
Right.
put on the property.
Right.
That would be done at another meeting. I'm not really sure that we can ask any more of
This
the
is about the
developer. He
rezoning
has,
only, right?
you have,
Yes, and that's one thing I want to make. Yes, it is.
All right.
When we talk about rezonings as legislative action, it's just about the rezoning. There are applicants that come in to rezone properties, ask for a rezoning with really no plan. They just try to rezone. So this developer is coming in to try to say exactly what they intend to do, but they will still have to come back in for, if this were to be approved as it's stated today, the developer, Clover Communities, would still have to come in for a site plan approval, and they would also have to run through the planning commission again as well, planning commission and back in front of council, to meet all the requirements.
and there could be more stipulations put on during those meetings in regard to buffer zones,
That's when buffer zones and
things like that would all come up so that everyone would understand if that occurs.
Council, any further questions? Any further comments, Mr. Jack?
I don't think so. Thank you for your time.
So, council, this item, you have three options for you. There can be a motion to approve, a motion to deny, or a motion to table for a later meeting. Or, that's it.
That's it, yeah.
Mr. Mayor, I made some notes here as the residents and the developer talked. And I don't see a giant ton of difference between his development as far as traffic goes and things like that, with school buses and the traffic generated by the outside community as compared to, I think, traffic generated by seniors would be less. But also looking for the fact that, like you said, I think we need quality senior housing in Monroeville, and we have to be careful what we allow and reasons why we deny things like this. So I asked Mr. Wilson a while ago, maybe as far back as the last meeting, and he was in support of it. I will therefore make a motion to approve.
Well, I talked to Mr. Wilson today, and he was in favor of it, so I will second.
There's a motion, a second to approve. Any other comments or questions, council? Seeing none, there's a motion and a second to approve. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
Mr. Poach?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Mr. Wolfram?
Aye.
Mr. Arcinigo?
With reluctance, aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
The ayes have it.
You want to give
Council-
them a minute, Nick?
Yes, we are going to move into the rest of our meeting. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for attending, but we'll give you a moment if you do not want to stick around for the rest of the meeting.
Sharon, need a break?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Actually, we are going to take a 10-minute recess for our stenographer.
thank you.
We are in recess. This meeting is out of recess. It's approximately 8:57 PM. Council, we're moving over to our motions, and we're going to go to our second motion this evening, a motion to grant a blank extension beyond the 5-year term for development pursuant to Article 508, Section 4 IV of the PA Municipalities Planning Code for the Good Shepherd Cemetery Mausoleum Development. The applicant is here, both Mr. Huber and Mr. Smith. Gentlemen, if you may present your
Okay,
case.
thank you, Mayor and Council. I'll start again.
Welcome back.
Welcome back, right.
How much time
I
do you
figured
want?
I'd sneak one in, but I guess it didn't work, so I didn't know the procedure, so I apologize for that. We're asking for a planning approval extension for the final phase of the mausoleum and a 5 mausoleum development of Good Shepherd Cemetery. Do you have the picture? Somebody had the picture up there. but-
Oh, there it is.
Okay, that was the original plan that was started back in 1990. If you go to the next slide, it'll show the actual different phases of development. That's the actual construction that's been done till date. 4 of the buildings are complete. They were named after it's the Garden of the Apostles, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. The last building to be built is St. John's. That's the 5th building that we're asking for extension to build. This was the most recent building. It was approved. It went through the Planning Commission and Development, and we had to redo the retention pond. There was quite a bit of expense there, and there's the picture of the retention pond. So what we're asking for is an extension of time to build the 5th building. The way we typically do that is that we make it available for families as it's needed, as opposed to building it long before it's needed. And so we don't really have a gauge of when that's going to be. But there's nothing going to change. The actual drainage and the roof drainage is going to go into the existing water system. And the site is already prepared, and the plan's not going to change. So what we were asking for is simply to get an approval of extension of the time to build it, which we need your approval to do. And we plan on doing it in less than 5 years, but we'd like to have some flexibility in terms of building it for 5 years. So.
So you ask, it's blank on our notes.
Yeah,
Are you asking for 5?
Yeah, we're asking for 5, yes.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to
Can I-
approve.
Approve it in 5 years.
Everybody,
5
you
years,
good?
yeah.
Yep. So we have a motion
For 5 years.
for 5 years and a second. Now we can discuss it.
Oh, yes, please. If anything changes in regards to needed stormwater management or anything of those natures, that would fall under the fact that you would have to come up to that standard at that time.
Well, that's what we were trying to avoid, because we just.
But if it's 5 years from now, our standards may have changed, and I'm asking that we make sure that if something has changed, that they have to meet that qualification.
Well, it is if you require it.
Mr.
Yes,
Ratchett,
no,
wouldn't that be
anybody?
required
Under
under
the
development
municipality
anyway?
planning code, once you do approve this, he comes under what is in vogue right now.
Correct.
So he would not have
So
to.
he gets the benefit of the extra 5 years under the old rules. You just have to make a decision as to whether or not you think the rules are gonna change, how much of an impact the building with these attributes would be overall.
Okay, then what I would like to do before I'm willing to vote is, so that I make sure I understand, is I would like to ask our department heads, are they up to a code now that you think would be sufficient to carry them?
Yeah, so what was approved 5 years ago?
Correct.
You're
Is
asking in relation to
because now we're
today.
10 years, you know,
Well,
if we give another
It was
5.
just approved. The final plan for the, doing the retention pond was in 2016.
Okay,
I'm sorry, 2018. I'm
18.
sorry.
2018, okay.
Okay,
So we had to redo, there was already an existing retention pond there.
Uh-huh.
We had to redo the retention pond, and that was that last picture that I showed you, which is the new retention pond, and meet
Okay.
whatever the current standards are currently. And that's why we're asking for the extension, because we would rather not try to redo it again.
I understand. I just want from
Mr.
our people to explain that.
Mr. Hugus, if you could,
Sure. As part of,
Go ahead.
and I'll speak about this, Mr. Wilden, because I lived it. So when they did the development, they did the subdivision plan, which encompasses only the mausoleums. So the stormwater management isn't for the entire Westland Cemetery, or I'm sorry, Good Shepherd Cemetery. It's just for that portion of it.
Okay.
So it was designed for that amount of impervious surface. And if they're only putting up the small mausoleum, it's kind of de minimis in the big picture of stormwater management.
I kind of figured that was going to be the case. I just needed to be 100% clear.
Yeah.
And I am now. Thank you.
Okay.
any further comments or questions, council?
No.
So the motion on the floor is to grant a 5-year extension beyond the 5-year term for development pursuant to Article 508, Section 4 IV. Motion is second to approve. Roll call, please.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Mr. Arsenko?
Aye.
Mr. Wolfstr?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Mr. Poach?
Aye.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Good luck with your project.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, council, I know we're shuffling this around a little bit here. We have one more motion. I'm going to do both motions now, then we'll go back to the beginning and go into our regular order here. So we have a motion to accept the resignation of Scott Belts from the Monroeville Municipal Authority.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion second to approve. Comments? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
Mr. Poach?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Mr. Wolfram? Mr. Arsenko?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Council, moving over to our first page, we're going to start with an executive session announcement. The council conducted an executive session before tonight's council meeting on Tuesday, May 11th, 2021, from 6:15 p.m. to approximately 7:05 p.m. for personnel and litigation reasons. Council legislative action, if any, shall be taken at tonight's council meeting. Council, the minutes, we're looking for the approval of the minutes of Citizens Night from April 13th, 2021, and the regular council meeting of April 13th of 2021.
Motion. Second.
A lot of motions.
In 1 second.
1 second, we'll take
Good
that.
name.
Any other additions or comments about those minutes? Motion to approve, roll call, please.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Mr. Arsenko?
Aye.
Mr. Wolfram?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Mr. Poach?
Aye.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Council, list of bills and budget transfers. Is there a motion on the floor?
Motion.
Second.
Motion is second to approve. Comments or questions? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
Mr. Poach?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Mr. Wolfram?
Aye.
Mr. Arsenko?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Payroll report. Is there,
Motion.
there's a motion to approve
Second.
and a second. Any comments? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Mr. Arsenko?
Aye.
Mr. Wolfram?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Mr. Poach?
Aye.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
The ayes have it.
You didn't do that.
You the tax collector?
We'll get into that.
Okay, well, sorry, okay. Just want to show you I'm awake.
We'll get to it all. We'll get to it all. Crossing it all off the list as we go.
Maybe not in the same order, but we'll get there.
Yeah, exactly. We're keeping with the trend. So
Circuitous.
we do have our reports of our tax collections. Very important report. Is there a roll call? Is there a motion
Motion to approve.
to approve? Thank you.
Make a comment about
And a second and a comment, please, Mr. Little.
Okay, I just want to, I want to bring to council's attention the mercantile tax and the business privilege tax. As I had mentioned to council going back a year ago, we have kept an eye on this, and then more specifically, when the budget was approved, I mentioned April 15th would be a very important date with respect to these two taxes because of the pandemic and quite possibly the lack of revenue in those areas. But I'm pleased to announce, and council can look at the green sheets here, and this will be on the website, and anybody in the public can look at it. We had budgeted for mercantile tax I'll approximate these numbers, $2.2 million, and we had budgeted for business privilege tax $2 million. For mercantile tax, we had budgeted $2.2 million. We've taken in $3.2 million. For the business privilege tax, as I said, we budgeted $2 million. We've taken in upwards of close to $2.4 million. Now that totals to $5.6 million. We usually take in close to $8 million. Now this is counting delinquencies also. We usually take in $8 million. We've already taken in 5.6. With the stimulus money we will get before June 3rd, which is about 1.3, that'll be $6.9 million. And that's not counting the delinquencies. And we probably will have more of these two taxes coming in because even though we did not extend the date for the filing until May 17th, as the federal government did, there still is no penalty for those people who do not file. Most of the people have filed and talking with a tax collector, but we may have more next month. So we are looking better than we thought we did. We will not most likely hit the number we usually hit, over $7.5 million, but we're nowhere near. We're definitely better than what we had budgeted in fear of what the pandemic would have done to the businesses here in Monroeville. So that's good news right there. I just wanted to make that comment so council and the public knows that.
Quick question, Tim. With that, but you would still say, is it safe to say that from that report, there's still no fluff in the budget? Nothing added?
No, I would say there's no fluff in the budget, no. With respect to revenues, no. And even expenses for that matter.
Okay. Because, I mean, we're seeing a number of individuals that have seen the public report of stimulus money coming and are assuming that we are, you know,
That's gonna put
good
us
as
over the
gold.
top.
We're over the top
Yeah.
and we're good to
Better
go.
than
No,
before.
the stimulus money will put us close to what we normally take in. If we didn't have the stimulus money, would be $1.3 million, maybe not $1.3 million. We still may be $800,000 short. We still may be. Now, that's counting delinquencies. Keep that in mind. We still may be, and these are just all guesstimates that I'm mentioning right now. I mean, we could still be 700,000, $500,000 short. The stimulus money definitely is helping.
Gonna help.
And it also, we pulled money from our fund balance, so we basically pulled money from our savings account.
Right.
So I think maybe the better way to look at it is this stimulus money would help replace that money that we pulled out to balance last year.
Correct.
Right, yeah, like he's saying, we don't have, it's not like we went over the top now and we all have all this extra money.
I mean, that's the
Right.
queries.
That's-
I don't know about everyone else,
No.
but that's the queries I've been hearing. Hey, you guys are getting extra money. Can we do?
And that's
No,
not true.
Okay.
I would not, at this point, I would not say that.
All right, thank you. That's appreciated.
Thanks for the report, Tim. So, council, we do have a motion, a second to approve the tax collections. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
Mr. Poach?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Mr. Harvey?
Mr. Harvey, approval of your tax collections, are you for it?
Yes, I just had a question. I just had a question for Mr. Little.
Mr. Wolfram?
Why?
Aye.
Mr. Arsenko?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Very good. Council, moving over to our vacancies on boards, commissions, and authorities. Mr. Williams, we'll start with you.
Yes, Mr. Scott Belt resigned from the Municipal Authority, and I will take this opportunity to thank Scott for his service to the Monroeville on the Municipal Authority and his service as a volunteer fireman for many years. At this time, I'll bring your attention to the Home Rule Charter is really the Bible that the municipal council should go by. And what it states here is a vacancy on any board, commission, authority shall be the subject of social media notice in the municipality at least 25 days prior to nomination for filling the vacancy. Nomination shall be made at a council business meeting at the time of nomination. Each nominating official shall publicly present the council a resume of the nominee's qualifications. Because of that, his resume come in, I think, March the 27th, so not enough time, so I will not make a nomination tonight for the 6th ward seat.
And you're discussing there's three individuals, three residents from the 6th ward that have their names in. Are you referring to all three of them?
All three of them. I will not make a nomination tonight.
Okay.
And I want to wish Mr. Little a happy birthday belated.
I'm lost as to why.
What, 21 again?
Leave it go.
21, 39 and Holden, right, Tim?
Pardon me?
39 and Holden.
Right. Jack Benny.
Yeah, so Mr. Williams, so you're following what the Home Rule Charter says about vacancies?
Correct.
Okay, very good. Ed, do you have anything else for this evening? Mr. Arasinko?
I just wanted to say to Heidi Lawrence, who put in for the planning commission one vacancy, but I already know that Scott has been nominated. So Heidi, please don't give up. There may be other vacancies, and I'd be more than glad to put you on any board that there are vacancies. No, nothing. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, I do have something else.
No problem.
There was a complaint about Young Drive. And what I would like to do is make a motion.
Is this a vacancy on a board or commission?
No.
Why don't you hold that thought? Hold that thought, we'll come back to it.
Okay.
And Mr. Arasinko, you're still good?
I'm great.
Nothing else? Okay. Mr. Wolfram?
I have nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Harvey?
Nothing.
Mr. Poach?
Two things for this evening at least. Can you move forward on the planning commission, Mr. Walker?
Mr. Walker?
Yes, Bruce Walker.
Can't hear him.
I'm sorry, can you not hear me?
Can hear you now.
Go ahead.
Sorry, guys, I apologize.
Your outside voice.
Yeah, I use my outside voice. Mike usually works better. Planning Commission, Mr. Walker, Bruce Walker from Saunders Station Road.
So you're making a nomination?
Nomination for the Planning Commission.
I'll second it.
There's a motion second to nominate Mr. Walker to the planning commission. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
And the last one was Mike Perry for the Human Needs and Resource Advisory Board.
I'll second.
I didn't hear.
I'm sorry, Ron. Michael Perry from Saunders Station Road for the Human Needs and Resource
Okay.
Advisory Board.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Mr. Poach, anything else?
No, sir, thank you.
Mrs. Gatos?
I'd like to make a nomination for Mark Zwadniak for the Monroeville Municipal Authority.
Second.
I didn't hear what she said.
Sorry.
A nomination for Mark Zwadniak for the Monroeville Municipal Authority.
Of the 6th
What
ward?
ward is he from?
6.
Well, that's not your nomination to make.
I can make it, though.
And it's supposed to be 25 days
It's
after
a nomination.
resignation.
We can make a nomination. It's not an appointment.
Did we get a second or what?
Yes, we did.
No,
Mr.
I
Poach,
did.
second.
Yeah, because it's not an appointment. Just a nomination.
Okay, we do have a motion second, and I just want to, by what Mr. Williams, whenever you refer to the vacancies, it was for the appointment of it, correct?
That is correct.
Mr. Ratcher?
I believe so, yeah. It's
Yes.
25-day waiting period for an appointment.
For
So
appointment.
we can make a nomination, and then an appointment will be at our next meeting.
Okay.
Want to revisit that?
Is there a
No, there's a nomination.
section?
I know, but
Yeah, it's about filling the vacancies. The appointments of vacancies. So we have a motion and a second to nominate.
Nominate, to nominate.
nominate, yes.
Correct.
Only nominate.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
Roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
Mr. Poach?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Mr. Wolfram?
Aye.
Mr. Arasinko?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
No.
The ayes have it.
Okay.
Anything else?
I'm not really sure who has Raspberry Drive. Is that, Mr. Harvey, is Raspberry Drive yours?
Pardon me?
Raspberry Drive, is
Raspberry,
that
that's
yours?
That's mine.
There was a name for the Monroeville Finance Authority. I didn't know if you recognized that or not.
I did not see
It's-
that, and nor did I recognize him, but he's the only person that's put in, so I
Correct.
will make the nomination for Andrew Kennedy, nominate for the Monroeville Finance Authority.
I'll second that.
Motion second to nominate, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
And I do believe that takes care of all the ones that put in. Thank you.
Very good. Moving over to our bids and proposals.
Okay.
We have one this evening, the Old Ramsey Road Wall Project, 21-01-PCFR-wall.
Okay, Council, we have received last Tuesday, I think my fingers are dry here, trying to loosen them up. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We received 6 bids, and you have in your packet a letter from Doug Abitko of Garvin, Ballard, and Beco, our engineers, our geotechnical engineers for this project. And I'll let Mr. Hugus make any comments he wants.
Yeah, because I didn't acknowledge it.
Good evening again. So most of you are aware, we talked about this sort of at the budget time concerning Old Ramsey Road wall. Old Ramsey Road is limited to one-lane traffic at this point in time because of the failure of the wall. In 2014, there was a soldier beam and lagging wall built on the kind of the middle part of Old Ramsey Road from this point north. About 150 foot of that wall was constructed. And actually, at that point in time, we talked about repairing the entire length of the wall, but it was decided at that point that it was not fiscally responsible to do so. Of course, about a year later, we started to see the rest of the wall fail. The wall was originally constructed 93, 94 timeframe. So we went out to bid to repair about 350 foot of the wall. And this is a good depiction of kind of what the wall looks like if you're standing in the stream. And you can see, is that showing up on your monitors? You can see this section of the wall is collapsing. And then again, a little further south towards Forbes Road, there's another section of the wall that's also collapsing. So this is a design build approach to this wall. And again, it was put out for public bid, the bids come in, and as Mr. Little stated, it's about $500,000 for the lowest responsible bidder.
And this is a better price than what was anticipated, correct?
It was, we had originally estimated about $1 million. One of the things that was removed from this bid was the actual paving of Old Ramsey Road. We're just gonna piggyback off of our paving bids that we have for this year.
And that would be because they would use a subcontractor.
They would
It
use
cost
this-
us more money, so we
yes.
might as well use the good
And
pricing.
I'm probably thinking about between $75,000 to $100,000 for the paving
Yeah.
of this. So we're still
We're
at
still
the
way ahead.
$600,000 range for
But
the
still
repairs.
further ahead.
And it'll be completed, hopefully, if we can get the materials in, it'll be completed by the end of October.
Trick or treat.
Yes. Maybe Forbes Road will be open by then.
Yeah, maybe. Yes, which we don't have an answer on,
Yes.
so.
Questions, concerns, comments?
No, you can see through the road. I mean, there's now a hole in the road itself, not just, like, I didn't even realize how bad the wall was. But you can literally see a hole and look down.
It's a building catch basin.
Oh, it's awful. It's, yeah,
What'd you say, Paul?
It's a building catch basin.
it's a mess, so.
No structure required.
Super happy to see this, so.
You gotta do it.
I'm making a motion that we approve this with the bidder recommended.
That would be Beaver,
Yes, sir.
Beaver Excavating for the Price of $496,400.
Motion and a second.
You making a motion?
I did.
Did I second?
Second?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Any other comments, council? Mr. Little? Staff?
No. Do we want to talk about the road program right now, or do you want to wait?
I was gonna do it on my report.
Okay, all right, okay.
Okay. So we have motion second to approve. Roll call, please.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Mr. Arcinigo?
Aye.
Mr. Wolfram?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Mr. Poach?
Aye.
Mrs. Gato?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you for all the work on this.
Council, we're going to stay with our theme of jumping around. I do have to jump back to the vacancies on boards, commissions, and authorities. Mr. Ratcher pointed out to me a moment ago that, actually, Mr. Williams, what you mentioned was absolutely correct.
Oh.
That, as it states, it's because a vacancy's handled differently
Than an expired term.
than expired terms.
Yeah, and this provision is new. When the changes were made to the Home Rule Charter, what, 2-3 years ago?
Oh.
This is a new requirement that it first be published in social media. So the vacancy needs to be published in social media. So the nomination is in effect a nullity because it cannot occur yet. So,
So that is,
And that's only because is it because someone left the seat or?
Correct.
And that's, okay, that's what makes
vacancies,
the difference.
midterm vacancies or any time during the term are handled a little bit differently than new terms.
and it's a way to give the residents fair notice that there is a vacancy, that they aren't just finding out the day of the meeting, and it's already, maybe someone already has.
Well, I
their name put in.
apologize to you then, Mr. Williams. I did not know that, so, and I understand. And also, everyone needs to understand, this is not, Mr. we had a gentleman, I don't want to say the name, thought this was a Ward 1, I think, just because the person that resigned was from Fire Station 1. So,
So we are striking the nomination of Mark Zwadniak of Ward 6 for the
until
Municipal
next
Authority.
month, I guess, yeah,
Okay.
we have to do that.
Yeah, and
So noted.
obviously, Mr. Little can follow up on making sure.
Well, just to, have a clarification on that, because we do put these on the website. So is that,
Well, but the vacancy really, until you accepted the resignation, the vacancy wasn't effective.
Oh,
So you
okay, so-
accepted Mr.
okay,
Beltz's
all right, okay.
The vacancy
resignation.
occurred tonight.
okay.
So
all
we've
right,
got a
okay.
25-day
Oh,
window
because we
here.
accepted
Right,
it
okay.
tonight.
You can nominate
Okay.
I'm
next
with
month.
you, all right.
So it's 25 days.
Yeah,
from-
what is that sound?
What?
So, Mr. Williams, yeah, you were correct.
What section of the Home Rule Charter?
That's,
That is
1804,
Section 1804, Article
Thank you.
Section 1804 vacancies.
Article
A.
18,
A.
boards, commissions, and authorities, Section
Yeah, I
1804,
remember.
vacancy.
Yeah, that was changed, where we had to advertise, it was getting expensive advertising that in the paper all the time, that's why we put it social media.
So we can do it on the website.
Right.
So you'll just have it up on the website then?
Correct.
That's, okay.
Thank you.
So there is one vacancy for the Monroeville Municipal Authority, just so everybody knows, but it will be posted. Council, we're moving down to our resolutions. We have one resolution this evening. Mr. Little.
Yeah, this is a resolution that has been tabled from authorizing distribution of grant funds for the Memorial Day Parade. I assume, whatever council's pleasure is, to keep that tabled on there.
I'll make a motion to keep it tabled.
I'll second.
It can just stay on the table.
Okay.
There's no
No
action.
action.
No action. Good.
Moving over to our reports of our municipal staff. Mr. Ratcher.
No report tonight, Mayor.
Mr. Little.
Yeah, I have 3 items. We have summer employment, we have, I believe it's 7 applicants. We have $20,000 budgeted, which equates to approximately 5 summer employees. What is council's pleasure?
Is there no way we could pick up there's only 7 applicants, correct?
There's 7, we have 7, right, Joe?
There's 7, there's 4 for Public Works, 2 for the library though, and 1 clerical. But I don't know if the library actually needs them or not.
Mr. Poach, did you ask them?
They do. They'll appreciate the help they can get, but there's only part-time.
Okay.
Because there's no eliminating part-time.
We can make a budget transfer from your budget.
No,
We're gonna take it from your budget.
I thi- all things considered, I think we ought to hire the 7.
Any other discussion on that, council?
Do we need 7?
List in front of me anymore.
Council, we're budgeted
Trying
for
to
5.
employ kids.
What does
Yeah, I
everybody want to do?
understand that, but I mean,
Trying to employ kids that are working their way towards college, so I think it's worth it.
I agree.
We want all the positions to be as they're outlined. 5 at Public Works, 1 at the municipal building, and 2 for the library.
Yes.
I'm good with it.
As long as we can, as long as it's not a too big of a burden, yeah.
Okay, all right, we'll hire, okay, we'll hire the
You need to,
Did we only budget, because normally we've each gotten to pick 2 or 3.
Well, that,
We've
yeah,
had like
we
14,
had,
20.
well, for the past, because of the pandemic,
That
in
needs thinking.
fact, the pandemic, when the budget was made out, we usually had $72,000 budgeted.
Okay, but we did it because of the pandemic?
Because of the pandemic.
One more question. Mr. Sedlak, have you talked to the municipal authority? Do they by any chance need a person?
They're still looking for people.
Well, then maybe one of those people can go down to them, because they need, I know they needed someone too.
Yeah, I talked to Joe Story today. I told him we'd probably find out tonight about what we were doing, and I'd call him.
So we
That'd
could,
probably work just as well. If-
Yeah,
if
that
one-
way
the
they
one-
get some
I think
help
there's
as
one
well.
person that had experience in the library, and then if not, then that could be your
well, you
swing
can
piece.
give the water authority 2.
yeah,
that's
if,
even.
if they need 2 even.
Yeah.
So why don't we work that out with them?
Okay.
Is everyone in
Yeah, I
agreement
agree
with
with that.
that?
I'm good with that.
Okay, good,
Seven.
because
That'll be
that was gonna
available
come up
right
at
now.
our next meeting, so.
So is it either 7 or 5 at the municipality?
How about if they're available right now, start them working?
Well, they have to be notified and stuff, and,
They wait.
What is it?
but will you talk to Joe Story tomorrow?
Yes,
Joe?
yeah, I told him I would. I told him I'd
Okay,
call him tomorrow,
perfect.
so.
All right, that sounds good.
So council's okay with 7, but there's a chance it might just be 5 because 2 of the 7 might be going to the water authority.
Yeah, we're good.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Make sense?
As long as we hire them all, I think that was the idea.
Agreed, but if some can go down there, why not? Would that way
I'm
we're
good
helping
with
them
that.
out as well.
They had the gumption to put in for it. I think we should let them
Agreed.
hire them.
Mr. Little, next item.
Okay, this Thursday night at 7 o'clock, we will have Meet the Candidates Night. The event is closed to the public. It's just going to be a broadcast on TV 15 and also on Verizon 45. It will be re-aired throughout the weekend. Check our website for the times, and also it'll be on YouTube. The candidates will be here, and I will be monitoring the event. So tune into the broadcast this Thursday at 7 o'clock.
These are just municipal candidates.
Municipal candidates, true. Municipal candidates, not school board candidates. Good point, Mayor. Thank you. Okay, next item is recycling event will be at the Public Works on Saturday, July 17th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. And we'll keep you posted on that each month leading up to that.
Is that the special drop-off thing where you can drop off electronics?
Yeah, ECS and C, they, for paints and things of that nature.
Computers and all that stuff?
I don't know if computers, I don't know if electronics are
Is this
there.
the
I don't think it was
electronic
listed.
I don't think electronics are there. I mean, the
Yeah,
flyer
I remember seeing
information-
the list. I'm sure that it weren't listed.
Well, we need to do something with them electronics. I see them all over the road.
Yeah.
We've
People
had,
just
we've
throw them
had,
out the road.
we've had a company come in to do them. though, haven't
Well, they
we?
did collect electronics once.
Yeah.
Just had none over.
We just had it.
Pennsylvania Resource Council will probably again have one. I think they are out at the next tier development.
That's why people don't do it.
Very good. Mr. Little, anything else for this evening?
And condolences go out to Kathleen Rossi on her husband, who just passed away.
Oh, I didn't know that. Over the weekend.
Very sad.
Mr. Hugus. The floor is yours. You have 2 items this evening.
I do. The first item actually is a request that came through Tim. It's concerning the crosswalks at 312 Center Road, which is actually the former Rivertown Poorhouse, which is going to be a new restaurant. And I believe this was in your packet. So back when it was the Rivertown Poorhouse, there was a request from the municipality that went to the county for the municipality to establish the crosswalk across Center Road from the parking lot to the facility with the crosswalk indicators near and far on both sides, and the actual painted crosswalk on Center Road. What occurred was, when the road was paved, the county paved the road 2 years ago. They paved over top of the white markings on Center Road.
When I requested that crosswalk, they denied me.
The sign's still there.
Yeah, but
No,
these,
no, we,
yeah.
signs they approved. The crosswalk, they would
That
not
is a
approve.
fact.
Yeah.
Because
They
they
allow
said
it now.
there's too many places for the people to cross, and I forget how many listed excuses they gave. They would not let us paint a crosswalk on that.
And we asked the county for documentation of such response to the municipality, and they didn't have any.
I have it.
Well, good, they didn't have it. So the email that was received at the manager's office, one of the items from the county to the municipality said if Monroeville wishes to reinstall the crosswalk, the county would be willing to grant permission for that because a crosswalk previously existed at the location, and this would be considered maintenance of said crosswalk.
So they want us to do it at our expense.
I think they want you to do to take the liability.
That's what I was gonna just ask. That liability falls on us then, correct?
Probably on the motorists.
It would be on them as well. I mean, if they think they're getting out of the liability by doing that, I think they're mistaken.
It's their
That's
road.
why I
They'll be a
asked.
part of it too, but yeah, it'll be some liability for the municipality, but you know,
I think it's a safety factor.
you have many crosswalks and intersections and things. This is sort of a de minimis
But you
addition to that.
explained it though, they're gonna
Yes.
be as well as us.
Yeah,
And that
they're-
would be
they're
on
not gonna
any
get
of the
out.
crosswalks, correct?
Pardon me?
Any of the crosswalks, it would be it with the state or
Correct.
the county.
Correct.
So I'm fine with that.
So the options are the municipality would redo it, or the county would do it, but we have to do a traffic and engineering study to show that it's warranted.
Well, whenever you say redo it, do you mean just paint the road, paint the crosswalk?
We'd have to reestablish what was there originally.
And other than paint, is there something else?
The additional signage, some of the signage is missing
Okay.
that was there originally. The
But
near,
stuff that
what
we
I
painted.
call them, the near signs are there, but the far signs are missing.
With the traffic study, that would fall on,
Us.
No, the municipality would have to supply the traffic study
That's
If the county,
ridiculous.
if the county.
if the
would do
county
it.
was going to do it.
But if we were
Now-
to just put up signs and paint the road again, we can just do it.
Correct, and the county's already said that the ADT, which is the average daily traffic, is 16,600, which is above the 15,000 threshold that they use under the MUTCD manual for that type of movement. So they're already telling you that it's above the threshold, and you would probably need some type of a warning light, and that would send you to PennDOT, because PennDOT's the only one allowed to have signals. So we're gonna be in a circle.
But that's all based on if we decide to
Correct.
have the county do it.
Maybe we could each take a couple hours
Well,
per day
these
and be
four signs
crosswalking
were
guards.
never there. Only the two on the left side of the road as you're looking at this drawing.
Okay.
They're the only two that ever existed.
Well, the two near signs, I'll call them, Ron, are up there today. They're there in today's world.
The two on the right side of the drawing,
No. The ones closest to the crosswalk
to the parking lot.
on both sides of Center Road. Those two are there today. The ones further away that
Then they
says,
put 'em up since
then,
the
then the
request.
ones far away that says 200 feet, those are the ones that are not there.
So we only need to install 2 signs and paint?
That's one of the options.
That's
Yeah,
one
it's
of the options.
options? Or we do a
Right.
traffic study?
My original
We
request
do
to
nothing.
them
Is that our 3 options?
Yes,
was in February of 2016,
correct.
and they denied.
All right, I make a motion, we move forward with the signs and painting on our own.
I'll second.
Motion is second, and I think that's a good option.
Yes.
Cost
Other comments?
It's fairly cost effective for us, I think.
Yes.
And it's better than doing nothing.
Right.
No,
If
agreed.
you need it for safety, and we're not gonna do a traffic study, so let's just go ahead and do what needs to be done. Let's fix
Get
it.
it done.
Yes.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
Mr. Poach?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Mr. Wolfram?
Aye.
Mr. Arcinigo?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Mr. Hugus.
Yes, the next item is the library entrance improvements. This sort of came about very abruptly. I know this was a grant that was, that the library had obtained actually several years ago,
They can spend it at least.
which is unfortunately coming to a close if the work isn't going to be performed. So the West Warning Conservation District reached out to me and said, look, we've got to move this along or we're going to lose the money. So actually, it's going to be out for a public bid starting Thursday.
Okay.
2 days. So the project essentially is, if you're on Gateway Campus Boulevard, and this area here is today's world, it is a handicap parking field. That is going to be removed. A rain garden is going to be established in that location. And then the entranceway that you know today is still going to remain, but it's going to be one way, the opposite direction.
Okay.
And then the parking, the handicap parking was here, is going to be relocated to here. And the blue shaded area is going to be permeable pavers. And there'll be new light standards established. And in addition to that, there's always been an ongoing issue with water entering the front entrance. They're going to be installing, just blow up my head a little bit more. They're going to be putting a trench drain in front of the doors to capture the water to send it back to the stormwater system within the parking lot. It's about a $200,000 grant for this.
Will that cover it?
Yes.
Yes.
No match on our end.
No match. Well, there was in-kind services that were already performed. They were actually performed at the senior center's detention basin.
Right.
So that's already completed.
Fantastic.
And this
Hey,
will keep
Paul,
water
when
from
you come
coming
out
in the
the
front
doors of the
door.
library,
That water coming in that front door's been an issue since
has been.
I was there 8 years ago.
It has been.
Yeah.
Mr. Williams?
Mr. Williams?
when you come out of the library doors, walk to the street, there'll be no curb there when it's done?
I'm not following. You mean where the sidewalk intercepts with the roadway?
Yes,
Yeah, because it has to be handicap accessible.
okay.
The curb cutting.
Correct.
So, do we have
And
to
the
make
exist-
a
so-
motion or something, or?
Yeah, so just the existing parking lot staying the same? Are you-
Yes,
Are
no,
you cutting into
the
the grassy
municipal,
area?
the municipality paved the parking lot last year.
Correct.
So that will not be disturbed. It's just from so the asphalt ends here from last year. This section here will be, this is the disturbed area.
Am I
But
correct?
that's the existing driveway.
Correct.
Okay. And then the new handicap parking will be into the grassy area that's currently there?
That's correct.
Okay.
There's some vegetation, trees,
Okay.
bushes that'll have to be removed.
And is this warrant a vote, or is this already just, this is more informative?
Well, it's more informative. It's not gonna cost the municipality anything. It's just that we do have to front the cost and then we'll be reimbursed as it is with any kind of
Project.
grant like this.
Yeah, I
Yes,
think
it
it is.
Long waited,
Getting
long
those front
overdue.
doors fixed alone
Yeah,
is worth
I
worth
would,
it.
it's an FYI for council.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Hughes, anything else?
Yes. I have a third item that's not on my list. I apologize. It's
No
a late,
problem.
it's a late night. I'll pass these out and talk at the same time.
Thank you. Do you have one for Sharon?
Do I need one?
So last month you approved the road resurfacing program and committed about $800,000. So the balance of that, which is obviously about $200,000.
Didn't get any. Ward 6 is getting flush. I know.
Is there enough there? Yeah. Okay.
We have enough?
They can have mine.
Is there enough? I thought I made enough.
Yipper.
All right, so there's additional 12 roads. 11 of them are seal coat projects. One is a mill and overlay. You know, we backed into this with our rating system, with a list of the roads that, and with the seal coat, we try to get neighborhoods knocked out at one time. And that's what, you know, basically Spillman Street, Miller Avenue, Miller Alley, Center Street, Highland, Dawkins, Ridge is all one big grouping. will be taken care of. Burke and Donley are tied together. They'll be taken care of. Old Concord and Harvest, again, they're together. And then Pendleton would be the mill and overlay. We're gonna be in that direction anyway, doing Atterbury. So it'll be a quick trip over to Pendleton to take care of that.
I'm
And that
happy to
takes up about the balance of,
Yeah,
of that 200,000.
happy to see we could get this much more done.
Yes.
Well
Because of
done.
pricing.
Yes.
Thank you very much
Okay.
for that.
Excellent.
Questions,
Yes.
concerns, comments?
No.
No, we are
sir.
saving money this year. In
Good.
general, the price has gone down
Yes.
for the work in general.
Gonna last
Just
for a
don't
long
buy any
Perfect.
plywood.
Yeah, so,
Thank you, Mr. Hughes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul, good job.
thank you.
Very much.
Thank you, Paul.
Council, moving over to reports this evening. Actually, one more thing, I'm sorry. So there is a public comment period that I will open up the floor if there's anyone from the public that would like to speak for any municipal item. Seeing none, we'll close that portion and go to our council report. Mrs. Gatos.
Yes, I'm gonna make this quick. It's been a long night for everyone. But there is big news for the Shop and Save in Haymaker Village. It is opening this Thursday. And so I'm very pleased to make that announcement, and I think it's gonna be great to have that store back open, so that we have something on that side of town for, stores. So thank you to the people that took it over and renovated it, and it will be opening this Thursday. So enjoy your shopping. Oh, and I gotta say happy birthday to my husband yesterday.
Not which birthday it was. Do you want to embarrass him?
No,
Happy
it-
birthday,
Yeah, just happy. It would make me look too much like a cougar. Thanks.
Mr. Poach. Please. Jeez. Give your report, Mr. Poach, please.
I'm composing myself.
Still a little-
Yeah, just personal things, and congratulations, actually mostly to the women in my life. First Saturday, didn't think it would affect me emotionally, but to my daughter's graduation, when she walked across the stage with a magna cum laude at graduation for that too. So I didn't, again, and before Mr. Arsinka says it, yes, she does take after her mother. That's what she was
Yes.
smart enough to do that as well. Also upcoming for next week, happy birthday to my wife on Election Day to do that as well. And then also happy anniversary is the next day, our wedding anniversary. And no nominations to her for putting up with me for 26 years. Okay, so that's not on
I'll
the
second
table.
that motion.
Yeah, it's enough. Thank you.
I'll
But that's
make the
just personal.
motion.
All really joyous occasions for us. This
Wonderful.
May.
Very
Thank you.
good.
Great. Excellent. Mr. Harvey.
Yes, one announcement, and then I have a short presentation. I hope council would bear with me here. The announcement is I'd like to remind the residents and motorists of the new state law that passed concerning the move-over law, in case you haven't heard about it. This law is meant to protect all the highway workers and responders handling situations on the roadways. If you see them or come across a situation on the highway involving road workers, tow truck operators, first responders, police, fire, EMS, or even highway safety workers, you're required to reduce your speed to 20 miles an hour below the posted speed limit and move over, if possible, to a lane that would allow you to pass by safely. The fines have dramatically increased for this thing. There's way too many deaths involving these responders due to high speeds and careless drivers. So please pay attention and be careful of these people when you're on the highway. The second thing is Harold and Jason, you want to come up to, I'm going to pass this out. And I have a couple slides I want you to look at so you understand what I'm talking about. I may gotta go that way. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, well, I'm sorry, Joe.
This will be,
I'm here to keep us safe.
For entertainment.
Oh, I love that.
I have a short presentation to make and a request from council. We are the owners of the training academy, the Police and Fire Training Academy, or the Public Safety Training Academy. And we haven't invested much in typically throughout the years. Currently, after inspection, the fire department training tower has 2 burn rooms in it. And these are the rooms that the fire department is allowed to set actual fires to give experience to not only experienced people, but new people. They are no longer usable by the fire department because the burn towers are old, cracked, and allow the heat to leak through and would damage the structure. There, if you haven't seen it, that is the building I am talking about. And I'll let Jason and Harold explain to you what you're about to see here. You can go ahead to the next picture. There you go. So hold there. Those are the burn towels, correct? Correct. Those towels are supposed to be tight enough together that they won't allow the heat that they cause in these rooms to damage the structure. And as you can see, that's not the case. Unfortunately, these towels are very, very expensive. They were put in there by the manufacturer of the tower when it was built. I think we've replaced them.
I think one, maybe two times
Yeah,
since. It
I
was
think
done
one time we
in-house.
replaced them, and one time we just had to replace certain ones, certain towels. But as you can see, there are 2 burn rooms. These are the condition of the towels, and they need replaced so they can continue training there, having state classes there, state certified classes, and have actual fire in both these rooms.
So right now, these rooms are out of commission?
They are. Right there, you see the junction box. That is where the instructor is supposed to be able to hook up his meter so he can tell what the temperature is inside the room when the firemen are in there. I don't have to explain anything more about that. So the bid you see here in front of you is from the company that built the tower. They came out and did an inspection with, and Jason, you were with them?
I was not with them the day of the inspection,
Okay.
but myself and
But
I
including
believe
in
Chief
this
Cole met them over
is the
there.
repair of that junction box so they can plug their monitors in. The state instructors can plug their monitors in and monitor the temperature of the rooms that the firemen are in. Yes, it's a lot of money, but I think it's well worth it for the fire department to be able to have live practice. And there's some things that are gonna come up later that I will inform council of, that maybe we can help to start not only preventing those 2 rooms from going bad so quickly, but maybe even make up some fees and scheduling some other classes and outside speakers, and charge some outside fees for facility use. I don't want to get into all that tonight, because there is a lot to talk about. Myself and Mr. Little and Mr. Ratcher talked about it, and having classes that are sponsored by the Monroeville Fire Department there, whether it's classroom work or actual work in the tower. And the other thing is we've always let surrounding communities use it if they wish to. The problem is nobody ever monitored what they did. So if they went in there and broke 10 of those towels, which are not supposed to be touching, we would never know because nobody inspected it before and after. It's a situation we have to correct.
Just some things we could modify there, some more oversight,
Right.
and maybe some things we could change in the fee schedule.
Correct.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve. It's a no-brainer. I mean, we have to do this for our fire departments.
Yeah, because right now, they're not being used.
That's my
Jason,
Yeah,
Harold,
yeah,
did I
right.
miss anything?
No, right now, the
you
burn
got it,
rooms have
huh?
been out of service for well over probably 5 years. We haven't used any of them. because
5
they-
years?
Yeah,
And-
we just had this inspection in 2019, and we knew before that it was damaged, so once we got the inspection, now we're already 3 years from that inspection. And like Councilman Harvey said, before the gate was there was just kind of free roaming access everywhere, so people could just go in there, and they didn't check in or check out with anybody. But now with new state policies for burning, I was just helping one of our guys look at the paperwork. They have to do pre-building inspections with like facility owners or directors or whoever. So anytime we would host more classes there, once this is fixed, they would have to do a pre-inspection with us and a post-inspection after the classes. And we've also affiliated with other colleges now through Westmoreland and Allegheny to hold classes here, and there is a fee that they will be charging the students to come out here. It's a facilities use fee. So anything that we've incurred to maintain this building or any of the facilities that they use, we would get paid. by
Yes,
the-
to
Wait,
that
wait,
point.
hold on. Do we need to second the motion
Yeah,
so we can have
suggesting that-
discussion?
Yeah, motion to approve in a second.
Okay.
And
I
discussion.
didn't hear the second.
Is there further
Sorry.
discussion, or?
Yeah, I mean, just one
Yes.
quick question too on that, Jason, as well. So back to that point, so essentially, now with the future, these agreements that are in
Yes.
place, to help further defray, the
Yeah,
the
especially
ongoing
with
use of
the
costs.
Westmoreland one, we spoke to their director exclusively about holding classes and any fees that would be incurred by us out here as far as materials. They have, for those burn classes now, they've gone from like 15 the $25 or $30, we would be able to collect that from them because we're hosting it at our facility.
Municipality would be able to.
Yeah, the municipality would collect that fee.
Right,
And
and
since
then-
it's already an NFPA compliant building, it just has to meet the standard for the burning
Sure.
per
And
the
then-
inspection
and
report.
correct me if I'm wrong, but you were also exploring additional means to help continue to fund that, some of the things with the association, the funding as well, but
Yeah,
how's
the
that
training
going?
committee, through the fire department, we've raised funds, that we've been building simulators. There's some things with like doors, the bottom of the doors we have to repair. We've talked to them how to do that. We're capable of doing that in-house, so we will do
So
that.
the fire
ourselves.
department's gonna continue
Yeah,
to
the
do
fire
that
department
as
will do that.
well.
The fire department's gonna clean the building out this week and get everything out of there and maneuver some equipment around.
So those
these
costs,
things-
those initial repairs, stuff can be borne by
Correct.
parts originally too. Then I thought you'd looked also the association, but I don't know if you have an answer back.
We
on
do
it?
not have an answer back because we're not really sure
Can you
where that's
expand
gonna
on that
go.
a little bit, just so we
Because the
understand?
Relief Association doesn't own the property. It's
Mm-hmm.
not their building. It's not, we can't use their funds to fix somebody else's
Plus,
building.
any fixed structure is not allowed to use any of the association money.
Okay, just so we have that portion of it in that piece as well, 'cause it's in place too. Sounds like, I agree with Greg, I mean, it's the one we need to, and the fact that we're adding additional fees and affiliations will help offset some of the future
We-
costs.
and
This-
part of
the way
this-
we're just kind of funding it up front.
Correct. And part of the proposal is having them install it. Goes back to the whole discussion with the liability. If we have them do it with their people and it's installed to their
that's
standards.
I'm good with that.
Now, this number though, everyone needs to make sure they understand, it's higher than this a little bit, because there's the taxes and stuff, it says are not included. Am I right?
Let me bring it up.
It
I
says
didn't print that
Yeah,
out.
just for the
exclusions,
public too, the
is
total.
labor, engineering, bonds, taxes, permits, special, like,
So it's material and labor.
yeah, and so I think it's just gonna be a little higher, not that it changes the opinion, just but, so that we don't put in concrete that number and then we're short.
Well, just for the public's knowledge, the invoice here, this is material and labor. The total is $41,983. But yeah, there might be,
There is definitely gonna be tax on the
It's gonna
materials and,
I don't think so.
No,
look
there's
at
no.
the second
there
page,
should be no
it
tax
says
on
it.
that it's
Well,
excluded.
I think that
No,
bottom is their
there should be
disclaimer, but I don't think we'll end up having to do any
No, we
tax.
don't-
Okay,
no.
all right,
No, we
just
should
in
be
case.
exempt.
And the
I just wanna-
materials are included in there.
Yeah, that's where she's talking about on page 2 where the exclusions is.
Yeah.
It says we exclude from the proposal. I think that's her general boilerplate.
Well, I think what they're doing, if I read it correctly, is like everybody else that we deal with fire trucks. If they come across something they didn't see, we're gonna have to fix it. Like if there's underlying structural damage or something like that.
I just wanna make sure.
Yeah,
In
to
case
your
I-
point, I think it's just a
Yeah,
boilerplate
if we
part that they
concrete a
add.
number, then you
Yeah.
guys,
Right.
it's not in there,
Absolutely.
then it's gonna be like, okay,
Right.
now you have to come back and everything's put on hold, so.
excellent. So we do have a motion, a second to approve. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
Mr. Poach?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Mr. Wolfram?
Aye.
Mr. Arsenko? Mr. Williams?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Yeah, 5 years is way too long. Let's get this taken care
All
of.
right, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
One
Mr.
other-
Harvey, anything else this evening?
One other thing, I just wanted to tell council that with this, as an example, we need to get back on the camera security system for the municipal properties. I'll leave it go with that, start thinking about it. But if we had camera security up there, for example, we would know who's leaving the property and the condition they left it in.
But he's also saying now they have to sign in, sign out kind of deal, correct?
There's a keypad gate.
Keypad and lock.
But I mean, they,
I was just gonna ask that.
Yeah, but
There's
Linda,
property.
oh, no, I know what you're saying, but at least he did answer part of it, is that if someone uses it, it has to be approved before and after.
I could let
usage.
them in and go home.
Yeah, the one you're talking about is the one that uses the building.
The burn
after-
building.
After we correct it, they'll have to do pre-inspections and post-inspections.
Pre and post inspections, at
Yes.
least that's that's something, that's good.
Very good. Mr. Harvey, anything else?
I am done.
Mr. Wolfram?
Sweet and simple, and short too. I just applaud all those residents who came out for the rezoning, fiasco, if I wanna call it that. And, I agree with everything that's been going on here tonight. We've got some, things done today. And, that's it, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Arasenko?
Real quick, excuse me, Kathy from our tax office, heartfelt condolences. My God, there's no words to express how I would feel, or any of us would feel. And last but not least, please get out there and vote Tuesday. Please, a lot of people sacrificed lemon and even their own lives so we can do that. as a free society. So please get out there and vote on next Tuesday. Thank you.
Mr. Williams.
I would like council to pass an ordinance to place a stop sign at the corner of Young and Cathedral Drive, going north on Young Drive towards Pioneer Park.
I don't know the
We do that with
Well, that wouldn't be an ordinance. There would be an ordinance?
Yeah, it would be.
We'd have to do a,
You have to authorize to advertise.
we'd have to maybe look at staff to look at that if that's even feasible.
Wouldn't we
Traffic
have to
study.
have a traffic and engineering study done?
Yes and no. But at a minimum, you're gonna have to authorize to advertise.
Can we
I'd have to
start
look
with
at it.
having staff discuss, Mr. Little and
Look
staff
at it.
discuss it first, to
Yeah.
look at it, since it's just getting,
Yes.
just spring it on us right now, but
Whatever
we have
they
staff
need
look
to
at
do
it.
to get it moving.
Someone
We
what-
can't do it, we can't do it.
I know you mentioned it to me, Bob, what, a Young and what,
Young and Cathedral.
No idea where we're.
Young and
There's no
Cathedral.
stop sign coming out of Cathedral. It's a dead-end street.
All right.
So Tim, you'll take a look at that with staff then.
That's right, we did decide.
Okay. Anything else,
That's
Mr.
all I
Williams?
have, thank you.
Thank you. Just Election day, yes, so just one announcement about that. So you will be voting at the same place you voted for the November presidential election. Now, there were some change-ups for the primary. That is not the case. You'll be voting wherever you voted for the presidential election. For the most part, it's the same for most where you voted, you know, many, many years here in Monroeville, but there were some changes in the second ward where things were shifted over to the library, and the fifth ward over to the library. But wherever you voted in November is where you'll vote for this May primary. If you certainly have any questions, contact the municipality, and there's a lot of resources on the Allegheny County Department of Elections website. You can punch in your number, your address, your street number, and they'll tell you where you are, what ward you're in, where you vote. You can find sample ballots of what's going to be on the ballot, of all the candidates, and some of the questions that are on there. There's a lot of resources on the County Division of Elections website, and certainly you can contact my
It's on our
office.
website. That's on our website.
It's on our website as well, so as you can be informed for next Tuesday. Congratulations to the Poach family and Emily.
Thank you.
Congratulations to her, and really deep condolences to the Rossi family. And with that, I want to seek a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you.
Paul,
All right.
Paul,